33 yards. And the Seahawks get the first points of the game. 8 plays and 51 from his left to right. 39. No problem. Field goal attempt from 41. And Myers didn't worry about any of that wind stuff we showed. He would have been good from 60. Several have done it. Bad snap, but a good hold. And Myers adds his name to the list of those who've made 4 field goals in a Super Bowl. She's still here. It's 3rd and 5. May's trying to step up. He lost the football. It's free in Seattle. Has recovered. Byron Murphy falls on the football.
Moving on the field is a fumble recovered by Seattle. First down.
Derek Hall knocked it out. The game's first turnover belongs to this incredibly talented Seattle defense. George Holani's the running back. Fake to him. Darnold to the end zone. Barner's got a touchdown. In at 24, trying to find some tempo, trying to take a shot play. Downfield for Hollins, he's got it! Touchdown, New England! 8:50 to go. Trying to step up and shoot one downfield, it's intercepted. Ill-advised throw in the middle. Julian Love has it. Love 50, Love 40 and out of bounds at the 36-yard line. And they bring in pressure as well, and they get it knocked out as Witherspoon came under pressure, and Uchenna Nwosu is going the distance for a touchdown.
Same blitz, Mike, has killed them all night long. They just cannot come up with answers. And the
third youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl. It's in the hands of Trevion Henderson, trying to get to the sideline. Keeps going to the 29, and that will do it. Seattle reigns above them all in the NFL. The Seahawks, Super Bowl champions for the 2nd time.
Well, Drake May needed to look perfect. He needed to have the game of games. And the New England defense needed to knock around Sam Darnold and possibly get some turnovers and force some points that way. None of that happened. And the Seattle Seahawks are your Super Bowl champions, 29-13 over the New England Patriots. They do not win their 7th Super Bowl. This Steelers fan is very, very happy. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. Anthony Alford in the middle, Eli Moon on the left. I am Rob Rozycki on your right. How are we doing today on this Super Bowl Sunday, gentlemen?
Yeah, I am doing good. I'm shocked. I predicted on an Inside Edge primetime the Patriots would win by 10. And I don't know in AA, I'd love to know how you're doing too. But I guess my thoughts are real quick that we talked all season and all postseason about Sam Darnold and can Sam Darnold get it done? And we've talked on this show about Drake May and turnovers being an issue, and he had 3 today. That was kind of shocking, and that shocked me. I don't think maybe we were talking about the wrong quarterback, and if he truly is in this category that he's been talked about all season, I think that was shocking. But before I dive into that, AA, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. I had to wake up after that game. Congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks for winning the Super Bowl. Great for them. Great job. They don't have any personalities on their team, but they did it. They won the Super Bowl, and it's too bad that we got to see Drake May compete in the Super Bowl.
I wasn't thinking Dylan Gabriel comparisons. I was thinking Kevin Stefanski. I was thinking, where did the New England offense go in that situation? But was it a situation of New England offense not showing up, or the Seattle defense looking about as dominant as any defense in any Super Bowl has looked? I mean, we were sitting about midway through the third quarter wondering if they were going to in fact pitch the shutout. So I mean, was this Drake May looking bad, or was this Seattle just looking very, very good?
I mean, I think we looked at it all season. Seattle's been turning it up, week after week defensively, and even in the postseason, we were talking about the Seattle defense being really, really good. I think it was a combination of that and the Patriots offense maybe being ahead of schedule in terms of production. You look at the roster, and this isn't a slight on any of those guys, but Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, guys like that, Demario Douglas, they aren't necessarily loaded at the receiver position. They aren't a team that stands out in terms of wow. Like, we're not talking about the Kansas City Chiefs when they had Tyreek Hill, and speed on the other side with McCole Hardman and just Travis Kelce at tight end. Like, we're talking about a team that probably overachieved on offense. And if you kind of hear the talks of New England going into the season, they weren't really projected to get to this point. So I don't know. I think Seattle took advantage of Drake May, who, like we talked about, has really struggled keeping onto the football this postseason, Rob, in AA. I mean, 2 interceptions today, a fumble lost, and that's kind of been the story of his postseason. And I guess it's a mixture of Seattle. To answer your original question, Rob, yes, Seattle's defense is damn good, but also I think Drake May and this offense know that they need to probably add a receiver or something in the draft this upcoming offseason.
Well, and the thing is, though, like, the reason that they were having issues wasn't exactly the receivers. It was the offensive line. Drake May got his butt kicked, 6 sacks. He was rushed all game, knocked around all game. And it slips my mind that they were calling it all night that the tackle out of Michigan, that rookie, was just getting his ass kicked all night. And that's ultimately why Seattle was dominating on defense, because that front four could really destroy Drake May without any help, and they can draw back the other 7 guys, and everything was fine. So again, I don't even know if this was a Drake May problem. I mean, he's had turnover issues the entire postseason, but specifically this 60 minutes of football, I don't know if it was much Drake May screwing up as Seattle just dominating. I mean, you look at the first interception, it was really Drake May trying to get greedy and trying to make something out of nothing when he was down by a couple of scores. There was Seattle's defense. I understand Kenneth Walker, the third, was the MVP, despite the fact he didn't score a touchdown. Yes, 135 yards on the ground really did help. But yeah, there was just not a whole lot to do for Drake May at all. There just wasn't.
Well, I think too. I'll just say that
they got the MVP. They really should have. But
well, I mean, and who? When it's the defensive unit showing up, like, who do you give the MVP to? And that's usually kind of tricky. But I mean, coming into this game, these are 2 of the best scoring defenses in the league. New England's defense played this should have been a blowout, like Seattle Denver blowout from years ago. But New England's defense kept it close. So you kind of saw the showcase there. I think a lot of it, I did not like the offensive game planning by New England coming into this. I didn't like the fact of, hey, let's be in the first half, let's be conservative, like very conservative.
It was a field position game in that first half. It was really, it was like watching like a 1972 game where they were just trying to, like, each drive inch about 20 yards closer, And
I thought for New England, you're playing with fire because you don't have, I think Eli brings up a great point too. You don't have as much talent on the field as Seattle does. So playing the field position game, you're playing with fire. And I think that's how you allow Seattle's defense in particular to really, really sell into the game. And Drake May, everything sped up for Drake May. And that's why he had major issues. But I didn't like the game planning because, nothing was spread out until late in the second half. things were kept to the vest. And, yeah, New England just couldn't do anything. But leading into this, too, in this playoff run, because they faced a lot of great defenses throughout the entirety of their playoff run, New England's offense never got going in these playoffs anyway. They've had what I would say less than 10 touchdown productive offensive drives.
Oh yeah, they haven't scored any points. Yeah, at all.
And again, to be fair, I mean, look who you're facing in the playoffs. Chargers defense is phenomenal. Texans have one of the top defenses in the league going into that playoff until things got away from them. And then the weather in the AFC Championship. But with that being said, yeah, Seattle all game long.
And it almost seemed like, if you wanted to go back to that game plan for a half a second, it almost seemed like Vrabel wanted that defense to win the game for them. Mm. You know, you can either say you wanted the defense to win the game or you were counting on Sam Darnold making a mistake. Because that's really like you look at what it was, 9-0, 12-0 going into the fourth quarter. Yeah, that's what he was priming that defense for the big strip sack that Seattle got, the big interception that Seattle got. He was prepping for something like that to happen, and it just never kind of materialized. But yeah, give it to Seattle. They were everywhere. That defense did not let up at all. And then you even throw it to, I guess, the man of the hour, even though he didn't have statistically the greatest game. And I've been here. I've been a Sam Darnold fantasy football owner the entire season. I have seen them win by 3 or 4 scores and him score 7 points in his own right. And that's about what Sam Darnold did today. 202 yards, 1 touchdown, but most importantly, no turnovers and 1 sack. And he did what a game manager would need to do in that situation to win a Super Bowl. And 5th team in, was kind of the forgotten guy in that draft class, was washed out in New York, washed out in Carolina, sat as a backup in San Francisco, went to Minnesota, played so well that they said, you know what, we'll see you later, even though you got 14 games, not for nothing. Did you notice what happened the day after Seattle made the Super Bowl? Minnesota shit-canned their GM.
Oh, yeah.
Late. And Diana Rossini, her reporting was, that's what happened, was he made the Super Bowl, you guys didn't, and you screwed up. But you know what? Sam Darnold, and I'll give him credit too, and we'll get into his performance, but at any point in time, he could have played the chip on my shoulder, all my doubters, all these teams passed up on me. All these teams thought they had a better option. I'm going to shove it up their ass. He didn't do that at all. It was always, well, I learned something everywhere I went. I am thankful for the coaches and the opportunities that I got. He played the class act the whole way through and is now Sam Darnold Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, it's interesting, and Sam Darnold mentioned during the ESPN interview during Super Bowl week, they asked him what the hardest part of his career thus far has been, and he said going to Carolina, which, I mean, the poor Panthers just, from Baker, from Darnold, have caught so much
At least they're okay now. At least looks like
they're in playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. But, he mentioned that, and, to Double A's point, I think he said it a few weeks ago here on the show, that Sam Darnold is just not going to get you motivated, not going to have you run into a wall when he speaks. But he's going to get the job done. He got the job done a lot of times. Like you said, Rob, it wasn't always pretty, but it was efficient. And he never put the Seahawks really in a position this playoffs where he was costing them the game. You may have been like, okay, he's not going to go out and win the game passing the ball. We're going to have to rely on Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet when healthy, and obviously Charbonnet not healthy the last few games of this postseason run. We'll talk about Kenneth Walker in a moment because, my goodness, when we talk about top running backs in this league, I think it's time we add a Seattle running back to that list. But to Darnold here, like I said, he hasn't cost the team any games. And today, yeah, like I said, 1 touchdown, 19-38, 202 passing yards, but not turning the ball over, and that's big. I think he's learned from a lot of these experiences, Double A, where, okay, in Carolina, he was put in a spot where he wasn't even starting for the team. Like Baker started that year off starting, and then you look at San Francisco and going there and learning under Shanahan and Purdy and being at the Super Bowl. I mean, even being asked during Super Bowl week, hey, how does it feel to be in your first Super Bowl? He's like, well, hey, I was there in San Francisco, but obviously starting this game, I think he's learned a lot. And this isn't, obviously, clearly, this isn't the same Sam Darnold that was seeing ghosts on Monday Night Football as a New York Jet. This is a guy that, is he going to go down as a Hall of Famer? Is he going to be in, the top of the record books, top 10 in stats? No, probably not. But he does have time to now redirect his career. And now this could be a position where the Seahawks have a nice core together with that defense. And Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet coming back from injury next year. The Seahawks are in a good position. I mean, they really could go on a little run here where they're the favorites in the NFC the next 2-3 years. And it's crazy because we were just talking about how wide open the playoffs are and the NFL AA. But it seems like the Seahawks, if they can keep this core, especially at receiver, Cooper Kupp, keep Rashid Shaheed. I mean, these guys that really made an impact this year for JSN. I mean, he ain't going anywhere. But if they can keep this core together, I mean, this is a real possibility. Sam Darnold can go win another Super Bowl. And now we're having a serious discussion about where do we rank him among the quarterbacks in the league today.
Let's have that discussion right now. Is he a top 10 quarterback in the league right now?
Rozycki, I defer to you. You won the coin toss.
Oh, thank you for that one. Yeah, just shovel that over to me. Oh, Jesus Christ. Let me pull up.
Let's just throw names.
I mean, Mahomes.
That's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of pulling up the standings at this point.
Is he better than Patrick Mahomes?
No,
Probably
and no.
not.
Yeah.
Is he better than Jalen Hurts?
No, see, like, here's the thing. I think AA, to kind of, like, bring that to that point, like, about, like, is he top 10? It's kind of the discussion Rob just, like, started this off with about Darnold. I don't know if he's the quarterback that you're having a discussion. Is he better than this other team's quarterback? It's just he's not going to make that mistake the other team's quarterback may make.
I think what Darnold did. I think what Darnold did, and we were all sitting this entire season, last 2 seasons, really, when he was doing it in Minnesota too, waiting for Sam Darnold, the real Sam Darnold, to show up. And we got that vindication last year when they bombed out against Detroit in week 17 and then got knocked out in the playoffs the week after. And we were waiting for that to happen again. And I think what Sam Darnold did this time around was show us, yes, you were waiting for the real Sam Darnold, and he was here in Seattle the whole time. Mm-hmm. This is what Sam Darnold, he has changed the expectation level with him. When he is in a big spot now, when he is in a big game, I don't expect him to fold up anymore. I don't expect him to see ghosts. He has now completely changed the narrative on his career. We'll talk about maybe another player in another sport in this city that has a chance to do the same thing next segment. But what Darnold did with this championship was baptize him of all of those previous sins and wash those away. So that's what Darnold does. Now we can start talking about where does he lie as, on this quarterback depth chart. Because, let's face it, even when he signed the contract in Seattle, did anybody have any really thought of like, oh, this guy's going to win a Super Bowl and he's going to be here for 5, 6, 7, 10 years? No. Now we can start having that conversation about him being a real quarterback in this league. Cool.
I think that conversation needs to be accelerated because if I'm not mistaken, in the last 2 years, nobody has won more games than Sam Darnold. If I'm not mistaken.
Him and Tom Brady are the only 2 quarterbacks to win 14 games back-to-back years.
Yeah, plus the postseason run just now with the.
Yeah, you can lump in postseason. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean.
28, 29, 30.
31, right?
1.
Yeah,
31
I mean,
games.
It's interesting, but I think, and all praises in terms of like Seattle success shouldn't go to Sam Darnold. And I think he deserves some success. And I think this is awesome for Sam Darnold. And he gets the Super Bowl win. But come on, guys. Kenneth Walker, man. Walker.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker. We'll get to Kenneth Walker in 2 seconds. I want to. We'll get to him in 2 seconds. All I'm saying is if this score was flipped and New England would have won this game, same score, but flipped,
Yeah.
we would have been ready to crown Drake May.
Well,
I think
look at the MVP voting. He was ready. They were ready to do that. You look at the MVP voting. He was number 2 in the league. Yes, he was primed and ready to go to be the heir apparent to Thomas Edward Patrick Mulcahy Brady. Like, yes, he was ready to go. But but with Darnold, he had that 5 years in the league. He had that baggage. He had those things to overcome. May hasn't. May had he had a shit coach's rookie year and a shit season. Okay, moving on. That wasn't his fault. Nobody blamed him. Darnold didn't have that. Darnold had seeing ghosts and blowing games and the New York Jets and all that stuff. So, yes, Darnold has now moved into a serious quarterback in the league. And, okay, we can have, and I'll say, he's probably a top 10. I would say bottom of the top 10. I'd say 9, 10, somewhere in there, depending on the day.
I would say right now, kind of that I would say in the 5 range right now, just again, because the kid won a lot of games. If we don't want to start there with the top 10 discussion, because that's not a spur of the moment kind of conversation the way I just presented it. That's saying you got to do your homework and figure that out. But you can think of, all right, it's obvious that Sam Darnold is the most accomplished quarterback out of that 2018 draft class, out of the QB class of 2018. He's the most accomplished. Over Baker, over Lamar, over Josh Allen. He doesn't have nothing on Josh Rosen. I'm kidding. But he's the most
in real estate now.
He is, which means he's making.
Well, in this market. Back to you, AA.
Yeah. But he's the most accomplished. We got to have a legit conversation of, is he the best quarterback even in that group? Because Lamar and Josh Allen, those are the 2 quarterbacks that are considered elite every year. Every year is Sam Darnold at least in that conversation of elite quarterbacks among the 2018 QB class.
Well, there's a difference between being good and being talented.
Yeah, and I think
a lot of these other guys are talented.
Yeah, and to that point, I think we saw with Mac Jones in San Francisco, good system. Christian McCaffrey at running back. A not necessarily strong wide receiver core, but guys that have been there, know the system. Having George Kittle, you put Mac Jones in there, they don't really miss a beat. They're still winning football games. I think this speaks to Seattle more than really Sam Darnold. And this isn't to take any credit away from Sam Darnold, but I think having these conversations about is he top 10, it's like we all can ask ourselves, is he better than Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson in terms of a quarterback? No, but I think the systems around Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have failed them as quarterbacks in terms of getting to where they're at. And Josh Allen, we talk about, he hasn't been the reason the Bills haven't made it to the Super Bowl. He's usually watching his defense blow a late overtime loss or whatever. And I think this just speaks to Seattle. They've taken care of, we talked about the running backs, and I know I keep bringing up Kenneth Walker, but goodness gracious, 27 attempts, 135 rush yards. But you look at Walker, Charbonnet, they went out and got Cooper Kupp after drafting JSN, just a couple years ago. So they have taken care of the offensive side of the ball, invested in that offensive line, getting A.J. Barner even, and, a Northeast Ohio guy. But
shout out to Aurora High School tonight. Your boy scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Cool, very cool.
You look at but they took care of the offense side of the ball, and then you look at getting DeMarcus Lawrence on the defensive side of the ball, and adding these veterans, and having Nick Emenwari. I mean, these guys that they just took care of the system, the team they built to where this is going to sound a little controversial. I don't know if they would have won a Super Bowl, but I think they would have had similar success with a Mac Jones or one of these guys that just aren't going to turn the ball over. I think this speaks to how Seattle has built this thing back up in the post-Legion of Boom era.
Well, I think, and in the case of Darnold, you can say the same thing about most any quarterback that won a Super Bowl. I think there's a few outliers. You got your Peyton Manning, All-American boy, your All-American, All-American talent, that kind of thing. But even Tom Brady, especially the first 2 or 3, the quarterback who wins the Super Bowl, Darnold is not the best quarterback in the league. He's the best quarterback in the league at running Seattle's offense. Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback, or was last year the best quarterback in the league in Philadelphia's offense. Darnold does what you need him to do. Seattle is smart. They looked at their offensive identity. They saw Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet, and they've had a good running game all season. And they put the offensive line out there. And Darnold, some days he had to go for 350 yards. Some days he had to go for 201 touchdown and only get sacked one time and don't turn the damn thing over, just like today. He is good. Everybody, and Terry Bradshaw, Joe Montana, all these great quarterbacks, all these great winners. You always say, well, they never had the best arm. They never had the best feet. They never had the best this. They never had the best that. They were good at their job. They knew what they needed to do, and they did it. And they had a head coach in either Chuck Noll, Bill Walsh, Jimmy Johnson and Troy Aikman, whoever. They had a coach that knew how to coach them and knew how to develop them to get them where they needed to go. And that's exactly what happened. Mike McDonald, Sam Darnold. Who knows? If Sam Darnold could leave Seattle in 2 years and he's seeing ghosts again. We don't know. But for as long as he's in this system, you have to consider him one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He is Joe Flacco 2.0. Guess what, gentlemen? Is Sam Darnold elite? That's what we're going to be asking ourselves the entire time. And the question is, who gives a shit? He just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Chris Collinsworth actually mentioned Joe Flacco, who's talking about how what kind of season, what kind of run would you equal this to? And he mentioned Joe Flacco. Kudos to
no, actually, the Seattle Seahawks are doing as an organization what Joe Flacco did. Joe Flacco won that damn ring in his contract year. Did you hear what all this the Seattle's doing right after they win the Super Bowl? They're selling the team, baby.
Oh yeah,
they're gonna make some money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can tell when that value is high.
Yeah, they got some things going on that.
There is some Saudi prince who's going to be very happy in a couple months.
Yeah,
when he buys that team.
Yeah, true. Congrats to Mike McDonald. Nobody talks about him, but he's one of the youngest head coaches in the NFL who just won the Super Bowl. So congrats to him.
By the way, with McDonald,
mm-hmm.
Did you know he spells his name he uses a lowercase d after Mac? I think after he won the Super Bowl, I think he deserves the big D now. I think he has the big D in his name.
He could. And Kenneth Walker, I know Eli, you wanted to bring up Kenneth Walker real quick. First tailback to win the Super Bowl MVP since Terrell Davis with the Denver Broncos back in Super Bowl 32. Kenneth Walker. I go back to the San Francisco playoff game where he just dominated, had 3 touchdowns, probably could have had more, to be honest. And I thought Kenneth Walker has had an outstanding playoffs. I don't think there's a single skilled player who has had a better playoff run this year than Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, and I mean, over 150, combined rushing and receiving yards today, 27 rushes, 135 yards on the ground, 2 catches for 26 yards. I mean, talk about an impactful game without having a touchdown. I mean, the Seahawks, like I said, they had, 1 touchdown on offense from Darnold to Barner. So, but you look at this, Kenneth Walker, AA, to your point, it really just became a household name this postseason. I mean, we talk about the Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey conversation. You have some of these other running backs creeping. James Cook of Buffalo. Kenneth Walker really became that dude this postseason. And when you look at Kenneth Walker and what he's able to do for Seattle, even with the fact that his workload increased with Charbonnet going out, he's not necessarily a pass-catching back. And they mentioned that on the broadcast tonight.
After he jumped one.
Yeah, it was rough.
Collinsworth ripped him. Oh my God, yeah. Collinsworth, man, he was like, we didn't mention this, but the dude can't catch and he can't block.
but when he runs the ball, he's a beast. And it's like you look at Kenneth Walker, and I mean, you can't really think of too many just running the ball running backs anymore. I guess there's so many dual threat running backs at that position right now. We just mentioned like Barkley. We look at Cook. You look at McCaffrey, like guys like that. And then you look at Kenneth Walker, and he's like that traditional running back. He hopes Charbonnet's back, obviously, so he can be the pass catching back when they need to go into receiving, formations. But Kenneth Walker really dictated the Seattle Seahawks offense this postseason. Really, put the team on his back and made life easier for Sam Darnold. And we were just talking about Darnold, but I really think it's because of guys like Kenneth Walker that were able to really make the defense respect the run game. It opened up the play action. It opened up these, drop-off passes where the whole field's opened up and there's 20 yards ahead of you. I think that's really what is important here. And as long as the Seahawks keep Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet coming back from injury, next season, the Seahawks are going to be a force to be reckoned with again. I think this speaks to, we were talking, 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, even 10 years ago when we were doing the show on a different station about the running back position and how they're undervaluing the running back position, and they're not going to pay the running backs and whatnot, and drafting Ezekiel Elliott in the first round is crazy in the top 5. And look at some of these teams that have won the Super Bowl recently. You look at Saquon Barkley and the crazy run he had last year with Philadelphia, and now you look at Kenneth Walker, really, especially the second half of the season, turning it up. I think it's important, and I think it's safe to say having a generational running back is very, very important. Maybe not generational, but at least a damn good one.
I don't know how much this does to value the spot, though. Kenneth Walker was a second-round pick, and now I realize too, looking at his draft information, why Mr. Moon is going so crazy after Kenneth Walker, the third here, Michigan State alumni. Kenneth Walker III. I've now made the connections here. But he's a second round pick. This wasn't Jahmyr Gibbs doing it. Now, Saquon Barkley last year, he showed something because Kenneth Walker did what he did out of necessity. Keep that in mind. This was not the scheduled plan. This was a two-headed beast. Charbonnet went down. Okay, Kenneth Walker, you got to go old school. And you averaged 22 carries a game in the playoffs. Like, this Super Bowl MVP he did help in the Super Bowl. He was instrumental to it. But this might have been more of a playoff MVP award than anything because they wouldn't even been there if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about value and devaluing it, you might have Sean McVay out there sitting, I can get a 4th rounder to do this. I can get a 3rd rounder to do this. And Kenneth Walker, I love you, but the law of large numbers says in 2 or 3 years, you will probably not be in the league. Or at the tail end of your career. I mean, he's second, third year in right now. So he's 25. So he's pretty much middle-aged for running backs right now. So I don't know if that really helped out the value of the player, but it did show the value of the position for sure.
I actually would flip it. I actually think his name did go up, but Barkley's actually an interesting example that you bring up because after the record season that he had, what happened this year with Barkley? Like all of a sudden, and a lot of it, Lane Johnson goes down, the offensive line struggled, but Barkley couldn't read the offense at all this year. He lost.
That whole thing looked disjointed.
He lost whatever he had there. And the only thing that works against Kenneth Walker III, injury history. So, can he go through an entire season, that kind of thing. But his name, people know who he is. I think that's the tricky thing about covering Seattle in general, because they're all the way up in the Northwest. People, they're not as interesting. People don't know who they are. They just go about their business.
Drink their coffee.
Exactly.
Get rained on. Listen to the grunge music.
Yep.
Yeah.
and then here they come, out of nowhere. I mean, I'll ask both of you this. I mean, this is not like a groundbreaking question or anything like this. When did you guys start to believe that Seattle could actually win the Super Bowl?
I mean, I thought.
No.
I thought they were, they were contenders. I mean, especially once they locked the 1 seed up, I'm like, okay, I mean, teams are going to have to go to Seattle, which is a tough place to play, and they might win the NFC. I don't know. I still felt really good about San Francisco. I really can't believe the way they went down. So, I mean, I don't know if I ever believed they were the clear favorites until there was 2 teams left in the NFC. And
I honestly, I think it was that San Francisco playoff game.
Yeah.
For me, it started a little earlier. It was that Thursday night or 2 weeks before against the Rams. And remember, up until that game, the Rams were really the only team that were giving Sam Darnold fits. I mean, again, a fantasy owner, I benched him that game because they were playing the Rams. And they end up winning that game all the way down to the wire, a 38-37, high-scoring game. They end up beating Carolina at San Francisco, that game that you're talking about there. But when they really kind of put their foot down against the Rams at the end of the season, that was, okay, these guys just beat a Super Bowl contender in their own right, beat a Super Bowl champion in their own right. And then, once they got there, once they beat the Rams again, then I knew this was on. But, it was the last 3 weeks of the season that they really got serious to me.
Yeah, I think that was the game like, Seattle. Because they've always been around. I forgot they won 10 games last year, and it just wasn't enough for them to make the playoffs. I heard, I think it was the radio coverage, Westwood One talked about that during their pregame show. But, I mean, they did that. But, that San Francisco game in the playoffs. Whew, real quick, before we move on, New England. Great learning lesson for Drake May. The fact that in year one of this new program, you go all the way to the Super Bowl. You really, I know you got beat down, but you really didn't get blown out. And I would still say, especially if New England's able to make some roster upgrades, they should be favorites to win the AFC East, at least. They should be able to win the division. And I would say for a lot of people, New England would be a strong pick to go back to the Super Bowl next year. I think it's very possible.
Yeah, I think it's going to be based off what they added talent-wise, though, at receiver. I really mentioned that at the beginning. And these guys played well. Keyshawn Boutte, Demario Douglas, guys that you're not necessarily saying, okay, we're going in, this is my wide receiver 2 in the season. I mean, they're feeling comfortable for the most part. I know they have Stephon Diggs there. Obviously, strong veteran in terms of like been there and done that in the playoffs and getting there to the Super Bowl, his first Super Bowl this year with the Patriots. But they got to address the receiver position, I think, and help Drake May out. I think he did really well with this cast of receivers and talent around him. And I think you just add more weapons there, then, doubly, they're back in a position where we're discussing the Patriots potentially getting back to the Super Bowl next year. But Denver is going to have a say with a healthy Bo Nix. Buffalo, we'll see with them and Joe Brady. Mahomes, I mean, we'll see when he comes back and what part of the season, if he's going to be ready for the start of the season. Baltimore, I mean, so, Dan Campbell said it when he lost in the NFC Championship game. This may be our only chance. And I know we're used to the Patriots and the dynasty and Tom Brady and all that, but this isn't Tom Brady. This isn't Bill Belichick.
To your point there, too, I mean, we're talking about, and I'll lump the Seahawks right in there, too. You got 2 teams that played in the Super Bowl that may not be favored to win their division next year.
Right.
I mean, obviously we're talking up San Francisco. We got the Rams. Stafford has already said that he's going to be back next year, so they're going to be, they're going to be respected. And then, you look at the Buffalo Bills too on the other side. On the other coast, is New England even going to be a shoe-in to win that division? I don't know. And I think you're right though with New England. Maybe kind of the same thing with the Browns is receiver and line, line and receiver and line. It seems like they're fine, okay. Because again, I'm going to go back to this loss here. This really seemed like, I'm not putting this on any of the receivers. There was no real big catastrophic drop. There was no bad route. There was nothing ran like that. It was a second-year quarterback running for his life the entire time. That was the problem. I think if Drake May had time to settle down and get into a rhythm, and you saw it a little bit in that one lone the touchdown drive they had, they got moving a little bit. You saw kind of why he was the second, choice for MVP this year. So if you just kind of reinforce that offensive line and make it where he's not trying not to die for 60 minutes, you might have a chance of winning the game.
Yeah, but and double, I'm sure you have some thoughts on this too. But like, Mac Hollins should typically be your like wide receiver 2 at best. Like if you're, I mean the fact that, and he had a great game in terms of like, he had over 70 yards receiving today and was targeted quite a bit. But I think that just speaks volumes. It's kind of like you want to strengthen, not that they're in a bad position, but strengthen the position so that. A guy like Stephon Diggs could be your wide receiver too, and Mac Hollins and these guys are just depth, and you have so many options now, but you have that guy that can go out and win the football game, and I don't think New England had that, and I don't think they were in position to do it either way today. Seattle's defense made it damn near impossible for Drake May to get any type of rhythm. So,
yeah, you could kind of tell too. I hate to think like this, but I'm sitting there watching, especially when New England just couldn't move the ball. I was thinking two things. I'm like, man. It felt like I was watching the Browns all season.
That looked like a Stefanski offense.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, okay. This is what it looks like when you have a top-ranked defense and your offense can't do anything. Oh, okay, you can stay in games, but you're not winning them. And then the second thing I was thinking, I'm like, man, if Bo Nix was healthy, Denver would have won. Denver would have won last week.
And again, what this loss kind of does, it now makes everybody question the route the Patriots took, because the thing that when we talk about the Patriots next year that they're going to have next year that they didn't have this year, a first place schedule. They had a last place schedule this time around. They took advantage of it. I'm not knocking them for it, but they are going to be facing a lot better competition now. So. Now they lost. If they won, no one would care. No one would be talking about it. But since they lost, everyone's looking at the teams they beat. I think, 3/4 of the teams they faced this year canned their head coach or made a head coaching change. So, now people are going to kind of look at that a little bit. Now the turnovers for Drake May this playoffs, they're coming out now. All the warts with a loss are coming out. The other wart, and I'd like to really bring this up. If any Patriots fans out there, please listen to me. You guys, I know you had a bad night, you lost. But you set a record. You actually did. And it's a very, very happy record for me that you have. With this loss, joining 85, 96, 2007, 2011, 2017, you have lost 6. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6. 1 for the thumb. You have lost a half dozen Super Bowls. That makes you the biggest Super Bowl loser in NFL history.
That means y'all suck.
And that makes me so happy that
Rozycki, but
have now separated yourselves from the Denver Broncos and have risen above the other crap. You have lost 6 Super Bowls.
That means y'all suck. Go back to your rebuild.
Rozycki, but I hate to break it to you, they're still in a better position than the Steelers next year.
Shut up.
So,
Shut up.
I mean, they probably will win the 7th Super Bowl before the Steelers.
I don't
But
know.
yeah,
But you know what, though?
I don't know about that, though. I'm not necessarily sure.
Could Drake May have a Dan Marino type of career?
no,
One Super Bowl appearance
Keep in
early.
mind,
in his
keep in
career,
mind,
not go
Eli,
back?
after year 2, we didn't think Dan Marino was going to have a Dan Marino career. So
yeah,
that's you
That's
never
fair.
know.
I do want to just mention that we have a bunch of comments piling in here. Side Hustle Podcast, and we know we have
Please
double A
stay
here.
angry, Patriots fans.
It's got to be it's Kyle Cornell here from the Side Hustle Wrestling Podcast. And he mentioned, Rob, that the Patriots, you're talking about their losses. They've also tied for the most wins too, Rob. Laughing face, hand on face. Can't believe you.
What are we talking
Speaking of
about?
Kyle, by the
They
way,
tied for the most amount of yes. And do you know why? Even though they tied for the most amount of wins, why they were on the road in the AFC Championship game? Because they got their asses handed to them by the freaking Raiders. All right, the Raiders. It was a common opponent that they had, and they screwed it up. And yes, I will stand by my comment. I don't care how many games they won. It was against a lot of crappy teams. You played Miami twice a year. You played the Jets twice a year. The Jets, you played twice a year, and that wasn't one of the 3/4 of the teams that shit-canned their head coach. The Jets are not on that list, but they still got played twice a year. They played the Browns, okay? Like, come on here.
Hey, easy.
No, you ain't got to go easy. That's facts. I just want to point out before we predict who's going to the Super Bowl next year. The team who won the Super Bowl today or yesterday, Seattle Seahawks, there was a time this season where 44-year-old grandfather Phillip Rivers had the Indianapolis Colts leading over the Super Bowl champion Seahawks 16-15 with 47 seconds left in Seattle a week after he unretired. That's the NFL.
Is that why he turned the Bills down? Because he's looking for a job, looking for a quarterback gig?
He might.
Dude.
I guess a poll question is Phillip Rivers. Will Phillip Rivers play in the NFL next season?
See, there's two ways you could ask it. Will he play again or will he play next season? Because if he does what he did this time around, I could see in about 4 years and 10 months, he'll want to play a game again. And he could do. You saw what Aaron Rodgers was doing on the tush pushes for the Steelers. He was sitting there with his hands in his pockets, just watching like a dad watching the kid cut the grass. Yeah. He could do that for one snap and keep that insurance for 5 more years.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely, because it ain't a guarantee he's going to go to the Hall of Fame.
Well, I think
going these days.
But who knows? The Hall of Fame could actually push that, get their shit together in 5 years and figure that one out. But yeah, I mean, we can hit on the whole Hall of Fame conundrum too at the end of the show in news.
We don't need to. Yeah. I've had enough of the Hall of Fame thing. We don't. Oh, actually, there is a clip we have to play from the Hall of Fame. That's Tony Dungy getting dealt with by Rodney Harrison.
Kind of like how
most of the time Tony Dungy's name is in the headlines now is when he gets dog walked on TV.
It was bad. We got to play the video. It was bad.
Rodney Harrison handled Tony Dungy like the New York Giants handled Rodney Harrison and the New England Patriots defense every time they played him in the Super Bowl.
So. It was bad. It was bad. He was like, y'all got it wrong. You look, man, it's cold-blooded.
It wasn't right. It wasn't right. You can't call Tony Dungy out. I mean,
yes, you can. Yes, no. Yes, you can. Because he gave a weak answer about why Bill Belichick was not voted in.
Everybody sidestepped the question on that bullshit. Everyone was all
sidestepped it, which meant he probably didn't vote for him.
Which is fair. And if he didn't vote for him, that's crazy. That's crazy work. We've talked about that on the show. But I don't think that's the time or place to be having that type of heated discussion. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I think it should have been the focus should have been on the game.
To have it.
Media roll the whole week leading up, not the pregame of the Super Bowl. I don't think it should be about Bill Belichick not getting in. They should be highlighting. I think we're doing a disservice, in my opinion, to the guys that are in. It is a travesty that Bill Belichick's not in, but he's not in, and that's a different discussion of why he's not in. But Drew Brees got in. That's freaking cool. Larry Fitzgerald got in. That's cool. Luke Kuechly,
that's who I was.
Adam Vinatieri, I mean, but there's some good Adam Vinatieri. I mean, there's some good names. And I think if we're gonna have a discussion about the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Super Bowl pregame, an hour or two before the before the game starts,
it's a show.
Then I think it should have been about the guys that get in. We've had a ton. Double, you just said you're tired of the Hall of Fame talk. You know why? It's because we're talking more about people that aren't in it this year than the guys that are actually headlining the class, which is a pretty good class.
No, I'm with you.
I know.
Why I was interested was because it was Tony Dungy, who had a long history with Bill Belichick, competing against Bill Belichick on the same set as Rodney Harrison, who played for Bill Belichick, and the fact that he went in.
That's true.
I'll tell you,
his partner
I'll tell you what's happening, and this I think is pretty simple. We went into it last week too when I was getting into the Real Housewives of Canton, Ohio. This happened in a different way, but it's the same situation to Bill Laimbeer, the old NBA player in the 80s and 90s. Bill Laimbeer, I think, has like 4 or 5 WNBA titles. He is a hell of a coach, or was a hell of a coach. I think he retired now. Yeah. Never got an NBA gig because he had pissed off everybody who was running teams. Kevin McHale was on the Celtics. I think he was running the Rockets or the T-Wolves back then. You got Larry Bird running the damn Pacers. You got, all these guys running teams. And they all looked at Bill from his playing days and said, that dude was a pain in my ass. Bleep that guy. We're not going to help him out. And now with Belichick, and it's not, it's not coaching, it's not new jobs or anything like that. Who knows? It might have been an NFL job when it was the last carousel when he was talking to Atlanta. What it is now is the Hall of, we're going to punish you. You pissed us off. You beat us, which is the first thing you did to piss us off. And then you were cheating while doing it, or at least we think you were cheating while doing it. And you were an asshole the entire time. You did everything you could to screw us over. And now we're going to do everything we can to screw you over. That's exactly what it is. They want to make him pay, but they didn't realize in not putting him in, they're punishing themselves. Belichick, people have been calling Belichick a great coach more in the last week and a half than they have in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. Everyone's talking about how dumb the Hall of Fame is. No one is having the balls to look into a camera or go into a microphone and said, yes, Bill Belichick is legitimately not a first ballot Hall of Famer, and here's why. No one's doing that. They're all looking at the Hall of Fame going, wow, you're idiots. So
what's the problem? We'll have that Tony Dungy clip later in the show because that was during the 13-hour NBC pregame show today. So you might have missed it.
I think actually I'm looking on my app right now. ABC just started pregame for Super Bowl 61. So yeah, we're good to go.
They have the Super Bowl next year, right?
Yeah, they have the Super. I think it's in SoFi. I think it's in LA.
Jeez. Oh God.
By the way, speaking of the West Coast Super Bowls, I do want to give a moment of silence for all of the morning shows on ESPN and Fox and all around the business that had to start at 6 a.m. Eastern that were broadcasting from San Francisco, Western. That's 3 o'clock in the morning. You had to get up at 1:30 in the morning for your day job. My heart is out.
Do you just stay up and that would be my question. If we had to do this show at 3 in the morning, you just stay up?
We've done this show at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
No, I'm power napping. No. I'm
taking a power nap, but the thing is the thing is you got Media Row, everything going on at night, so I don't know. Well, who knows? Yeah, you get up at 8 p.m. or whatever, 7 p.m. for Media Row, and then that's your day at that point. Who knows?
Yeah,
I remember all those West Coast Super Bowls when I was at the Fan, and which meant for our morning show we ain't getting anybody. Because we're not getting anybody to wake up at 3-4 in the morning to do a hit for Cleveland radio. It just wasn't happening.
No, and dude, I've done enough morning radio to know that there's just no unobtrusive way to do that. There's no way to make it comfortable. You just got to set an alarm for 1:30 and go with it. That's really that's all you can do. But
no, I'll say this. We was going to do it tonight. Let's sit on it for a week. Think about our way too early Super Bowl 61 picks, because I'm sure ESPN will be all over it. But give it a week. Let's let it simmer and see what we come up with.
Okay, spoiler alert. I am not going to pick the Browns.
Well, that means somebody has to. It's 2 of us left.
Somebody has to give the homer pick.
Yeah. No Browns and probably no Cardinals. I'm just going to throw that out there. But
I was shocked.
The other 28 teams, fair game.
I was shocked when you were talking about the NFC West, Rob. And you're like, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Niners, and then you just completely left the Cardinals out, and that was kind of hurtful to the people of Arizona.
Hey!
You guys know how it felt. How many years are we talking AFC North? And it was like, yeah, all the great teams up there. You got the Baltimores, you got this Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, you got Pittsburgh, and then man, that NFC West is really hard too. Like, you guys know how that feels. I understand.
Dude, that's funny. That's funny.
All right. Well,
Sad.
well, let's take a quick break here. I think we can, we can put a nice bow on the Super Bowl here with that one. Again, Seattle, your Super Bowl champions. New England, I think the headline that you must take away is that, yes, they've lost now more Super Bowls than anybody in history and therefore suck. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, now 6 Super, and you know, in all fairness, we'll throw in, yeah, you might have won 6-2, but it is what it is. Yeah, we'll take a quick break here. We have a whole lot more to talk about. We basically we'll do our local segment in the middle this time. Normally, I like to lead off with it, but with the Super Bowl happening, it is what it is. We got a lot of Cleveland stuff to talk about. We got a new facial hairstyle in town. I think we're all going to mimic now after last night's game in Sacramento. We have a situation too with the Browns defensive coordinator. It looks like they're going to be looking for a new one. Jim Schwartz has called the divorce lawyers. He wants half his stuff and he is out of town. And then also Emmanuel Clausse. As bad as you thought it was, it's worse. It looks like, the FBI investigation has yielded even more instances of, we'll just say, gambling irregularities. We'll get into all of that in our local segment. Also, too, we got some news and notes coming up here to finish up the show. Of course, what we've learned, too. We got a stock show here. Hopefully, you'll stick around with us deep into Saturday or Sunday night and a Monday morning. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We got Eli Moon, AA Anthony Alford. I am Rob Rozycki. We'll be right back. See you soon.
What stood out to you most?
How together they are. Like they're well connected. They got the same mindset. They're very, very unselfish. I'm just happy to be here.
First game playing alongside Donovan Mitchell. He was excited about you coming here. What made you feel the same way?
No practice, no practice, no nothing. Just film sessions and just film. But I told Don just do what he do, and I figured out after that. So.
What does that mean when you're able to do that? No, nothing. Like you said, you come out here to do that.
I mean, you know what he's been doing all year long? You know, he's the leader of this team, and I'm just here to support him and do whatever it takes to help. So after one game.
We going to the yard. What are we doing? DM, JH, what the fuck?
Thank you, folks. All right, Donovan.
Oh, my God.
You've been waiting for this moment to play alongside, and like you said, no practice time. Where do you see this going?
I mean, like you said, we ain't do nothing. Like, we had one workout for maybe like 10 minutes, and that was it. So just trying to find it, at the end of the day, like, we know who he is. He knows who I am, and the team rallying around us. Shout out to Jared Allen, too, man. Like, while we was trying to figure it out as a group, he just kept holding it down on both ends. That's what this is about. It's not going to be pretty every night. We're still going to continue to figure this out, but when you have a guy like this, you have a guy like J.A., Jalen Tyson, Keon Ellis, Dennis, everybody, man, doing their thing, it's big time.
You're known for elevating bigs. You got to see Jared Allen out there tonight. How can you elevate this front court?
J.A. is already amazing. You know what I mean? He's been doing an unbelievable job all year long, and when Ev gets back, it's the same thing. I'm just trying to find ways that I can help them guys and help Don and help the entire team. Like, one thing I've seen about this team, they don't have any pride. They're unselfish. They just want to win. And, I can throw my little 2 cents in and figure it out after that.
Is that why Cleveland was the right fit for you?
1,000,000%.
All right.
Was courtesy of FanDuel Sports Network and NBA League Pass. That was the aftermath of the Cavaliers' 132-126 comeback victory over the lowly Sacramento Kings. Why we were happy, that was the first time that man you saw right there, James Harden, was in uniform for the Cleveland Cavaliers, traded on Tuesday. All the paperwork was settled, and we saw it happen, what was it, last night? A deep last night against the Kings. This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. Anthony Alford, Eli Moon, I am Rob Rozycki. It looks like we have something brewing in Cleveland, gentlemen.
Well, here's the thing, Rob. Me, you, and AA, we've all clearly been James Harden fans since day one. So to get a guy that we've all been big fans of since day one, obviously couldn't be happier. I mean, obviously, joking aside, James Harden has been criticized in his NBA career for his shortcomings and everything like that. I'm sure we'll get into it, all that when we talk about him and his Cavaliers run here. But it's so crazy how, like, the vibe is completely switched on James Harden if you're, here in Cleveland. It's like it went from James Harden can't make it, cut in the playoffs. He can't get it done. To, hey, James Harden might be the guy to get the Cavs over the hump in their postseason, shortcomings. And, we talk about the Cavs and struggling to get out of the second round, and Donovan Mitchell himself struggling in his NBA career to get out of the second round, and James Harden getting to a finals in 2012. But, he's never been the star, or at least the second option, like the co-star in a championship level team that got there, that got to the finals. And it's kind of crazy, AA, to think that James Harden might be the guy that gets us to where we need to be. I remember, it's crazy. I looked out, I'm watching the game. I'm like 8 points for James Harden, right? And then all of a sudden you look back and it's 23 points for James Harden. And that just kind of speaks volumes to the elite scorer that he's been his entire career. And just something the Cavs have been missing. Something we talked about, never really, all of the Darius Garland, but he never provided this type of offense where he didn't need the ball in his hand and he's still a threat. I mean, he was still distributing the ball at a high level, and I think we just got a glimpse of what James Harden can do, and he already bailed the Cavs out in game 1, AA.
Let me address the elephant in the room. Travis Scott, that was corny. I've had enough. I wish the camera was on me while we were rolling that intro from FanDuel, because what the hell was that? Whatever. Yeah. I mean, and to your point, Eli, what they can do and what we saw a little bit of last night, they can stagger the minutes between James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. So you may not see those two on the floor that much, at least during the regular season, because you could stagger those minutes. You have somebody who could run the offense. I underestimated. It's my fault. I underestimated how much value James Harden would bring to this team in terms of the growth of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. The way he plays the game, the way he utilizes the pick and roll, the way that he sets up his big guys, I did not realize how much he brought to the table on that front until we watched him play last night. That's good stuff. And again, as long as they can stay healthy, positive attitude, those kind of things. Because the one question you have with James Harden is always what's going on between the ears, right? If things go sideways, that's when he asks for trades. So, I mean, you're not going to do that the first day in the office. So things are going well so far. And I like what I see with James Harden.
Yeah, well, I think with Harden, and I think the and I didn't have a chance to hop on with you guys. I was working the other job when everything went down, but we all kind of heard the same thing. Yeah, me first player. We heard the playoff struggles and everything like that, and it's amazing what one comeback win against the last place team in the West will do. That's keep in mind. That was It was actually a pretty good opponent, I think, for the Cavaliers to work some shit out. But yeah. This season, I don't think is going to be the problem. I don't think we're going to have any issues this season. The new car smell's still there. Everyone's, they're still being polite and they're not being real yet. I think we'll let this play out. But for the moment, enjoy what we have right here, because I do think, and I think Eli alluded to it a little bit. You got two kindred spirits with the Cavaliers and James Harden right now that both kind of have the same rap on them. They both kind of crumble in the playoffs, and they both have the chance to kind of wash away those sins together. And if Harden can win a title here, if Harden can even get to a finals appearance here, he's never, I don't think he's been, he was in
2012 with the Thunder.
Sixth man in OKC.
Yeah.
But if he can get to the finals as a grown adult NBA player and do well and possibly win it, no one's going to talk about that 10-year run that he's had where, he folded up when he was with Houston against the Kevin Durant Warriors. They did have their major playoff struggles there. If he can do that here, no one's going to talk about that. And if the Cavaliers can win, all of a sudden they didn't choke the last 2 years. They were building character and they were learning. So that's going to be the difference. Double A, to your point, this is going to unlock Jared Allen. These high pick and rolls, you're going to watch Jared Allen do basically what he did against Sacramento, pretty much against everybody else in varying forms. I'm curious to see what Evan Mobley's going to do. He's still out right now with the ankle. He should be back in the next week or two. I don't know at this point. I want to see how they integrate him. But with Harden and Donovan, you kind of saw it. Harden took the first half to kind of warm up, they were talking about that in the interview with, the whole, we haven't had a chance to practice, no workouts, no nothing. And then by that second half, all of a sudden it started to make sense. And I could see your point, Double A, where these guys aren't on the court a lot together until the last 6 minutes of the game. Mm-hmm. And that's what we saw against Sacramento. And all of a sudden, I was listening to the broadcast. Jim Jones was saying it over and over again. You can't cover two. You can't cover two. You can't cover two. And that's what the Cavaliers have right now, are two 30-point-a-night guys to really, really worry about.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool. The other thing I want to see, too, how this is going to be integrated, James Harden is not the only new guy on this roster. You got Dennis Schroeder, you got Keon Ellis. And both of them have been playing very, very well off the bench. If I'm Craig Porter Jr., you probably better start mentally preparing yourself for getting a few less minutes every game. Because these guys, I think Craig was around 22, 23. Both the new guys are around 15, 14, something like that. So I could see that changing. But with Harden and with these two new young, feisty defenders, I think the Cavaliers now have that edge that we were looking for, that defensive edge. We got a couple of guys that don't mind starting a fight, which, okay, cool.
That's
Yeah.
what you mean. That's saying that's
and I think
we're in a Disney character right now. That we need people who's ready
that's
to
hilarious.
scrap. That's so for me.
So
yeah,
I think this is working out pretty well for the Cavaliers, at least right now. We'll see tomorrow night, or I guess tonight now. We're sitting here 10 till 1. Tonight they do have the Denver Nuggets. They do have the MVP is healthy, and it's the final game of their West Coast trip. I think this will be a little bit more of a test for a guy like Jared Allen, see how this formula is going to work against an elite big man, Hall of Fame big man.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, a much better team. So right now, though, it looks like the Cavaliers, I'm very, very tentative right now, but I think they might have found something.
Yeah, I mean, my final thought on this, I know we have other stuff to cover here during this section here of the show, but my thoughts on the Cavaliers is kudos to Kobe Altman, because Dan Gilbert, I mean, we don't know for sure, but we talked about it AA during the James Harden trade reaction here on the Inside Edge Network, and thanks everybody for tuning in and choosing us here tonight after your Super Bowl, rocking with us. We appreciate you. But we talked about the Cavaliers and Dan Gilbert, and basically Dan Gilbert being like, Kobe Altman, you got to make a move, man. Like, the core four is awesome, but it hasn't done shit. Like, we have not got anything done that's worth anything.
I wish that was the headline. I really wish that was the headline.
Dude, and it's like, you look at it, and Kobe Altman, to Rob's point, you bring up Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, because everybody talk about the James Harden move, and it's awesome. And we're obviously all James Harden fans now, and we want to win a championship with James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, these guys. We talk about Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, taking DeAndre Hunter and turning it into two guards that really are impacting the game on that second unit. And sure, Craig Porter may have to take a few less minutes, but that's not a bad thing. That just means we have depth that we didn't really see as much earlier on in the season. And I think as the Cavs continue to get healthy, we're going to really see what this team's made of, not only this year, but what they could look like with a potential guy that's playing in Los Angeles right now. Because I don't think this plan's all the way done yet, AA. I think you look at it, the talks of Giannis, and we'll see. Milwaukee just picked up Cam Thomas from Brooklyn, who was, released by Brooklyn and picked up by Milwaukee.
I don't think Milwaukee's going to ever let Giannis out of their sights.
We'll see. But you see Giannis, and then you see LeBron, obviously, if you didn't know who I was alluding to out there. But, yes, LeBron, I don't think their plan's done yet, is I guess what I'm getting to with the Cavs. I think Harden's really kind of like step one, and step two is bringing in one more star without potentially giving up Evan Mobley or Jared Allen. Because if you can bring LeBron into the fold here, I know he gets a lot of criticism, but me and Chad have talked about it on primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. It's kind of a thing where you'll take LeBron's 20 points still at, 41, 42 years old over a lot of guys right now that are struggling to find their way in the NBA. So I think this is exciting. I think that's why, to your point, Rob, you were talking about James Harden maybe being frustrated next season if we get a full season of the James Harden experience. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that, because we're putting guys around James Harden, or James Harden's going to be around guys that are likable for the most part, that he gets along with. Donovan Mitchell's a very easy to get along with superstar, and LeBron James and James Harden already get along. So, sure, you may have some friction, but I think it's going to be for the first time James Harden's in a comfortable spot where he doesn't have to feel like all the pressure's on him.
Well, the key
I thought you were talking about Austin Reeves. I'm sorry. My bad.
Oh,
dude, hey, man.
Well, the key is, too, though, you get 29 out of Jared Allen. Like, I think this is the second or third straight show where we've talked about the Cavs, and then you look at Jared Allen's stat lines, like, whoa, you get that?
Yeah.
Day in and day out? That's a huge thing. And I will say this to Eli, to your point. I know LeBron, that's off season, right? But the Cavaliers, I would say, definitely took a ton of steps. They got rid of, in terms of efficiency, they got rid of 3 of their worst players in terms of efficiency.
Yeah.
A lot of cap money.
And they saved a ton of cap. So I mentioned this to you guys, or to Eli and Chad on primetime.
Mm-hmm.
I think this Cavs team, as currently constructed, is good enough to win the East. Now, are they good enough to beat OKC or Denver?
Well, a lot can happen.
A lot can happen. And a lot can happen. And at least I would look at today's game or tomorrow's game against Denver. Basically, imagine going into school on day one of school and the teacher hands you the final exam on the first day of school. Obviously, how you score on the first day of school versus the actual final exam is going to be two different scores. So I think that will be interesting no matter what happens in terms of the score. One last thing I want to point out with the Cavs, which will make things easier for them. At this moment, they have the third easiest remaining schedule in the NBA at this moment. And I think there's a stretch starting in mid-March where they have the easiest schedule. So if in terms of getting things gelled, they're going to have opportunities to really get things going. And they need something that this Cavs team has never been able to do under Donovan Mitchell and previously under Darius Garland. They've never been able to go into the playoffs hot. It never happens. They've always had strong regular seasons, but even last year when they had a strong regular season, they were hurt and they fell apart. They stumbled into the playoffs. So hopefully this year, with the schedule being in their favor and new energy, hopefully for once, Rob, they can go into the playoffs hot.
Yeah, that's good, or at least with momentum, feeling good about what they're doing. And that's going to be the most important thing, getting the confidence there, getting, these combinations set, getting, what situations you want at certain times. But I think, the Cavaliers are at a spot right now with this influx of new energy. Think about, back in the day, when LeBron years when we got, Shump and JR, just kind of, that's what I think this kind of deal is very close to when it comes down to the way it's going to help the team. But you brought it up before with Kobe Altman, and I just want to stress this again. This is my closing thought really right now. Well, two of them. Going back to the Jared Allen thing, when Evan Mobley comes back, Jared Allen will be the fourth option behind a budding superstar, a legitimate 11-time All-Star Hall of Famer, and a borderline Hall of Famer in his own right, top 5 guy in scoring, Donovan Mitchell. So, if we're going to be able to do 11 to 12 from the field from our fourth option, that's fine. And then the other point, too, bringing it back to Kobe, he somehow managed to get, $50 million knocked off this salary cap. I think we're about $4 million now from getting out of the second apron altogether. He did that, and he made the team better at the same time. Normally, stuff like that is mutually exclusive. Normally, you're dumping salary or you're trying to win. You're normally not trying to do both. And Kobe Altman, if this works, even if they do get out of the East and not win the championship, if they represent the East in the finals, I think this deal puts Kobe Altman up there. And I know Sam Presti in Oklahoma City probably has this award on lock for a while. But Kobe Altman deserves Executive of the Year talk for these moves if this thing does end the way it could. I mean, the Cavs right now are the betting favorite in the East. So, take that how you want. And they work with the trade. So, it'll be fun to see what they do in Denver, and then they'll come back home midweek. They got a couple of games, and then, they'll have some G League teams basically to hone this thing in on and figure out. It'll be the dream team facing Puerto Rico in the Tournament of the Americas. We'll get this thing going. So
we got to play who's in front of us, Rob. We just talked about how they had to come back against the Sacramento Kings. So any given night, Cavs got to treat every opponent like
right. That is
when
true.
My team has easy schedule, it's fine. When Patriots have easy schedule, that makes them frauds. Don't you understand this?
Yes, that's fair. All right, look, listen. You know what? You talk about betting favorites, Rob. You know who aren't betting favorites? The team in Berea, who's been making a lot of noise.
Well, it depends. It depends. Is it betting favorites for the first overall pick?
And are we talking Berea Mid-Park?
Oh, my goodness. Guys.
You talking about the professional team or Berea Mid-Park or Baldwin Wallace?
We might actually be able to have a pretty good tournament to see who the best team in Berea is. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Listen, I just feel bad for Todd Monken, Rob. All right, I feel bad for Todd Monken.
Yeah, well, and obviously we're segueing into the Browns here. Todd Monken has been coach of the Browns for about 8 days, and they have not been calm days at all. He just got word, in the last 48 hours or so, that his defensive coordinator, the much praised and worshipped Jim Schwartz here in town, won't be back. It looks like he is going to be completely fine with sitting out a season if it means getting the hell out of here. And obviously that comes from him interviewing for the head coaching gig a couple of times and not getting it. I understand the idea. You wanted the big job. You didn't get it. You're not going to take a job lower than that. I see what's going on. But meanwhile, logical or not, they got a mess in Berea to deal with. And Todd Monken, through no fault of his own, is dealing with some bullshit now in the first week and a half he's the coach of the Browns.
Yeah, well, in fairness, Todd Monken did say in his introductory press conference he didn't come here to chip Jim Schwartz. He came here to chip Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and the defense. So now, I guess there's no other option but to find somebody that's going to coach this defense. I mean, I'm not going to get worked up about the Cleveland Browns. It is February.
What's Phillips doing?
Yes, I mean, we'll see. There's some names out there, but Super Bowl just happened. I'm not going to get frustrated. We haven't seen the offseason. We don't know. They might get the right guy in, that can keep the morale of the defense. Because here's the reality of the situation. And I'll talk about Jim Schwartz in a moment. But the defense has the talent. I understand what Todd Monken was saying in that introductory, presser, where he came here, because of the talent and primarily on the defensive side of the ball. Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Carson Schwessinger. You look at all this talent. Grant Delpit's really turned it around the last few seasons, really leveled up. I mean, you look at this. The Browns have a strong defense. That's whether Jim Schwartz has helped or not. I don't think that's not the debate because he definitely has helped. But at this point, the talent is there. We just need somebody that's going to come in, not disrupt the chemistry of the locker room, not try to, go over the head coach's head and take over this team in that regard. I think we just need somebody that's going to handle the morale and make sure Myles is ready to rock, Denzel's ready to rock, the rest of this defense is ready to rock, and that's what it is. I think for Jim Schwartz, however, this is a terrible look. We were here on the network, a lot of us at least, defending Jim Schwartz and saying, it wasn't right what the Browns did, the way they handled it. It seems like they led Jim Schwartz on. Okay, we are now, a week or two removed from Todd Monken being the head coach of the football team being announced, and I'm over the Jim Schwartz pity party. I am. I think at this point, you are under contract. And we have talked on this show about honoring contracts and athletes honoring contracts. And here's Jim Schwartz not honoring his contract, instead just resigning from the team, putting his resignation letter in. I just think it is ridiculous, honestly, that you're not going on your word. You're the defensive coordinator of the team. Does it suck the way the Browns handled it because they've handled it better? Sure. But at the end of the day, you have an obligation that you signed up for. And if we're holding these athletes accountable, Rob, AA, then we got to hold Jim Schwartz accountable because you're under contract. And I guess, there's no more elegant way to put it than that. And I think it's just a bad look for Jim Schwartz. I'm over it. And we'll see if the Browns get the right guy in because now we need a defensive coordinator. The search is back on.
Well, I said this beforehand because I'm very intrigued by this angle about what happened. As talented as this defense is, it's full of award winners, by the way, as you guys mentioned. In clutch moments, this defense didn't come through. So let's not go in and be like, oh, Jim Schwartz is the almighty kumbaya, whatever. I've watched games. Minnesota comes to mind. A few other games come to mind where when we needed the defense to close out the football game, they effing failed every freaking time. You can
say the defense lost a game or two for the Browns, but you cannot say that for Shedeur this season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, right. But I will say this, though. My follow-up question, because I get it. Yes, he should honor his contract. if you're Todd Monken, and based on that press conference, we got our answer. Would you even want him there anyway? I mean, that's my thing. And then you run into the terminology of, well, basically, are you trying to force somebody to move on? Or, I'm pull the Hugh Jackson. I'm sitting at the head of the table before Roman Reigns ever said it. Like I'm sitting at this seat. Todd Haley's sitting at that seat. Like, do you go that route? It seemed like Todd Monken, probably one of the reasons why he got this job was because he asserted his authority. It was like, this is my show. And if you're here, cool. If not, he has more assistants, Todd Monken. I think things are going well for him, at least from this standpoint. He has more assistants joining him here in Cleveland than John Harbaugh in New York. Same staff. Most of the assistants are here in Cleveland working with Monken. So I think a little bit of that is huge. But yeah, Jim Schwartz, he can sit at home. He could chill. That's cool with me.
I mean, I go to the Mike Tomlin line of we want volunteers, not hostages. And if you don't want to be here, if you don't want to do this, then okay, contract, great. That just means we're not going to let you work anywhere for another year. That's what that means. That's what the contract means. In one way you can look at it, you're working for the Cleveland Browns, but what the contract also means is you can only work for the Cleveland Browns. So, okay, fine. You'll sit, you'll have a vacation, you'll spend time with the kiddos, I'm sure do a couple of hits on Fox, whatever here, and call it a day. But if you don't want to be here, I don't care who you are, then you got to go. And then, you kind of alluded to it with your Roman Reigns head of the table there, Double A. If I'm Monken, and this is my first and probably only NFL opportunity I'm going to have, I don't want to be playing Game of Thrones or Succession with my coaching staff. I don't want to worry about this dude that thinks he should be the coach talking to everybody saying he should be the coach and second guessing yourself. And like what Todd Haley was doing under Hugh Jackson. That was why he got fired with you. So you don't want to have that whole Game of Thrones nightmare happening. And you want to bring in somebody you trust. You're bringing in assistants that are going to have your back, that, when it comes down to politics and when it comes down to message to the team and philosophy of football. We love Jim Schwartz. He was a good, not great defensive coordinator. But who's to say the way he saw the game aligned in any way with what Monken saw? So, okay, bring in your own guys. I'm fine with that. But yes, I'm glad, at least for the sake of everything, that resignation was handed before the Super Bowl. The Browns have plenty of time to go out and find a defensive coach. There is some rumors they could be promoting from within. So we'll see if that's going to work. And I can see them doing that on short notice. But they'll have plenty of time. There's still Myles Garrett. There's still Denzel Ward, who, by the way, me and a few other guys were looking at Pro Football Focus. Denzel Ward is a bottom third corner, according to the rankings, by the way. Bottom, not a starting corner in the NFL, according to PFF.
I need to look more into that. Yeah, look more into that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at this rate,
I'm not disputing it.
If you don't want to be here, go. If you don't want to be here, then that's the last problem. The Browns are going to have many other problems. They got to find receivers. They got to find an O-line. They got to keep the defense together. They got to be a football team here, and they got to try to win more than 5 games from last year. You don't need to be dealing with your defensive coordinator mounting a small revolution in the linebacker room. You just
yeah. And
real quick, Eli.
Yeah.
Did he get any other head coaching interviews, considerations from anybody else?
Ravens.
Yeah, Ravens. That was the only team that, in a defensive mind. So, maybe it made sense there. But obviously they went with Jesse Minter from the Chargers, So I don't know. I guess my final thought is this, because I know we're going to talk briefly before we, break about Classe. I know Rob is excited to talk about the Guardians. But
real
that
quick,
being said,
we have a Guardian special coming up.
We sure do. We do. It is February 18th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Inside Edge Network. Rob Rozycki, myself, Chad Ryan, and Autumn from Jersey Chasers. So we'll all be talking to Guardians and the exciting season coming up. And
we'll get you ready to go for West Coast baseball to start the season. Now we'll start you out at 10 o'clock and just get you in that mode right away.
Yes, here on the Inside Edge Network. So make sure you follow the Inside Edge Net. You see it on the ticker at the bottom on all the socials. We appreciate you. But my final thought on the Browns is we talked about, in AA was really talking about this during the season. A reset. Stefanski, Barry, reset. We dang near have a full reset. Even with this Jim Schwartz resignation, there is nobody really left from the coaching staff of last year. So besides Andrew Barry being the GM, everything is kind of reset. It's just in Andrew Barry's favor where if this really was a we decision, Jimmy Haslam kept stressing it's a we with a capital we. We made this call. Well, if Andrew Barry made this call with Jimmy Haslam, then he really did get his say because they chose Todd Monken, and Todd Monken got his staff. He didn't have to wrestle with Jim Schwartz for who's the real leader of this team, and he's had all his calls in terms of his coaching staff. So curious to see how this unfolds for the Browns, Rob, but also excited to talk baseball with you on February 18th, and I guess here in a short few moments. Goodness gracious, why can't we have good Guardians news? We get like 1 to 2 weeks of good Guardian news with Jose, and then this.
Well, and the thing is, though, and I don't even know I guess, it happened with the team and everything. I understand that, but do we really call what's happening right now Guardians news? Emmanuel Clase, I don't think is allowed in any building that the Guardians own.
True.
I think he would even have problems walking down a street in Cleveland, Ohio right now. He is about as much to do with the Cleveland Guardians right now as Jeffrey Epstein at this point. I mean, seriously, he is not a factor, but nonetheless, it is news. And
safe files.
I mean, at this rate, we're pretty much there right now. We are getting information dumps. We are getting discovery motions. He is currently under investigation and charged with a lot of gambling related problems. And right now it is coming out that it is not 4, 5, 6 games, how we all thought, that were affected. And for those of you who aren't acclimated with the situation, Emmanuel Clase was suspended indefinitely midway through the season for allegedly spiking pitches and fixing prop bets for games. Long story short, you got a prop bet. Is this pitch going to be a ball or a strike? Emmanuel Clase would, at a predetermined time, make sure it's a ball. And those who knew made money. And obviously that is not allowed. And we thought it was 5 to 10 games. It is actually closer to 50. And we're talking 48 games over 2022 and 2023 and 24.
Oh, man.
So my first thought, the two thoughts that I had, if I were to look at you guys and take a time machine 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and explain to you that Emmanuel Clase was going to do something that was going to make him more reviled than even Jose Mesa, you guys would have drug tested me. So here we are. And the other thing that I thought too was he had a .63 ERA last year. He was number 3 in Cy Young voting. He led the league in saves for the 3rd straight year. What would he have done if he wasn't tanking pitches?
Maybe worse.
Who knows? But nonetheless, we're dealing with the Guardians now are at least supporting characters in one of the biggest gambling stories of the 21st century, and it doesn't look like it's going to be getting any better for Clase.
Oh, this is so. Oh man, Clase. He's one of those. He's one of those dumb, smart criminals. Like he's so stupid. He's smart. Like to play that well and to be cheating this entire time. Like this. Oh man.
And also, not for nothing too. And I don't know if the Guardians are going to be looking into this, or if the Major League Baseball is going to be looking into this. Part of the reason why part of the way he was doing these bets, he was getting a call on his phone in the middle of the game or a text message or whatever, and using the phone to kind of talk to whoever he was going to talk to. If you go back to the Houston Astros a few years ago, that breaks the rules of having electronic communication devices in the dugout. So, and I understand
That's true,
that
but the Manfred did nothing about that.
But the whole thing, but I don't know if there's going to be anything done about this, because it would be basically trying to give somebody a speeding ticket after robbing a bank. There's a lot bigger fish to fry in this whole situation. So, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of problems. I don't know how much the Guardians are going to be dealing with this now in 2026. I don't know if that's going to be a whole storyline that they're going to be asked about. But nonetheless, this is going to be hanging over baseball's head this entire season.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say is I just Rob, I said this is disappointing or bad or however whatever sad adjective I used to describe this Guardians news. And it's just because he's you look at the ESPN article, it says Guardians Class A, so he still is technically a Guardians guy, and I think it's sad, disappointing, whatever, and it's not because of the Guardians. It's just because Emmanuel Clase is tied to the Guardians because these games took place while he was, bless you, the Guardians closer. And, that's what's disappointing is that, and Doubly's, talked about it. If this comes out, we keep seeing if these were in pivotal games that, we have been starved of a World Series here in Cleveland, a World Series win, that is. We've been to a few, but a World Series win. If it comes out that he is done it in some of these big games, which at this point, what would shock you about this story and what Emmanuel Clase wouldn't do for a little bit of money, extra money, that is. I mean, that's what makes it so sad. It's just like, because the Guardians have been so close, and we talked about, man, if Clase was on, if we would have closed out a few more games against the Yankees and may have advanced to the World Series, and here we are having a discussion about what the Guardians are going to do this season before a lockout. And so that's what makes me sad. It's just like the Guardians are still connected to Emmanuel Clase, and looking back and reflecting on what has transpired the last few seasons, that's what sucks.
Well, I want to know which 48 games.
Right.
We deserve to know which 48 games he's being accused of. And Ortiz, by the way.
Yes.
I know Ortiz has had a cup of coffee on the team, but they are both facing possible lifetime bans.
Well,
in May 4th, that's the date that they'll be heading to court. But I want to know which 48 games, because that I'm locked in with Eli. Were those 48 games were part of that postseason games?
Yeah.
Well, not for nothing. And Ortiz is running away from this screaming. His lawyers right now are trying to separate the cases because he is arguing that you're trying Al Capone and the getaway driver for the same charge. That Clase was a lot higher on the totem pole. And I think it's a lot of it, too, is that he realizes how absolutely monumentally screwed Clase is. And I don't think they're worried about lifetime bans right now. They're worried about staying out of prison. And because this is DOJ stuff, this is an FBI investigation. And to your point, AA, on what games happen and finding out information, this is Major League Baseball's absolute worst nightmare. This is any sports league's worst nightmare. And I'm not talking about the gambling, even though this is bad. A broader deal. NFL, NBA, look at what the NBA did when all the Kawhi Leonard aspiration stuff happened. They got their private firm to investigate it, and they have the information, and they can choose what they want to tell the public or not tell the public. Baseball can do that if they're doing the cheating scandal on the Astros. The NFL can do that if it's, internal NFL stuff. They can control the information flow. The Justice Department don't give no shit about baseball's image. They don't care about the bottom line. They don't care if they're going to lose or gain money out of this. They're going to let you know through discovery. Baseball has no control over the information going to the public. So if whatever prosecutor is working this case deems it appropriate that we get the dates of these games, then that's what's going to happen. They're not going to care about baseball spin. They're not going to try to soften the blow. Baseball has a completely unregulated scandal going out into the world right now, and they can't put a cap on it. Mm-hmm. That's the worst possible scenario. And you AA, you're right. If this is the Yankees, if this is end of the season, major national televised playoff games, then that's going to wound baseball to the point where they're going to need to bring in a reformer commissioner to clean this shit up. That's their worst nightmare right now. They're living their worst nightmare right now.
And just to think too, David Blitzer, just that basically he's succession plan, get ready to take over the team. So you got all that going on.
Oh yeah, and a labor stoppage.
And yeah, that too. Like, yeah, that's a whole disaster. But yeah, I'm looking at. There was one quick thing before we go to break. Hoynesy had an article on Cleveland.com a couple days ago. This is Q&A section here, and somebody wanted to know if Clase is found guilty, how will his place as the Guardians' all-time saves leader be handled? And Hoynesy mentioned he believes his franchise record of 181 saves will stand regardless of what happens.
Hold on.
And he brought up the 1919 White Sox, who had 8 players banned for life for throwing the World Series, and they're still in the record books without an asterisk. And then also brought up Pete Rose.
Do you know who has the highest batting average in Cleveland baseball history, lifetime? Not just a single season, but for career. While in a Cleveland, Indian, Guardian, everything.
Tell me.
Batting average, shoeless Joe Jackson.
What about?
So he's still the save leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man. Spring training. Spring training's not that far.
Had a couple water.
Yeah, look, guys. Spring training's not that far away. Maybe we can start talking about the new era of Guardians baseball, and I've been excited for Travis Bazzana. I'm excited for Travis Bazzana.
And we can, and I'll tease the baseball show a little bit. Yeah, we're going to be looking big time at the players who really have the most to prove coming into it. That's going to be one of the things we're going to be looking at. I don't put Bazzana up there on that list quite yet. Bo Naylor right now is that number one guy for me. They got a primo catcher in AAA. If Bo Naylor doesn't pan out, then all of a sudden the future could be now for that dude. But we're going to be taking a look at a lot of these key spots. Second base in general. If it's going to be Bazzana, if it's going to be Juan Brito, if it's going to be Daniel Schneemann, that's really one of the big spots that's truly up in the air right now. And it's we'll see if it's going to be if it's a guy like Brito or Schneemann who can at least beat back Bazzana and make it where it's not a high priority that he gets promoted soon. Because if the second base was batting 135 with 1 home run in 30 games in, then we're done. So, but that's going to be a big spot. But we're going to be looking at some of these young bucks who have a lot of pressure on them, and it's going to be definitely a step, hopefully, in the right direction for the Guardians team.
Again, Wednesday, February 18th, Robin E. Live with Chad and Autumn. Cleveland Guardians preview show. I guess you could, Eli, call it a special edition of Inside Edge Primetime.
I'm with it. Just for anybody out there wondering when primetime will happen, that will be primetime basically that night. We'll be with you pretty much rocking and rolling. And Chad and I will be there with Rob and Autumn. So we are primetime. So look at us. Primetime in the primetime. So much primetime. Deion Sanders, head coach of the Browns, probably never happening. All right, Rob, back to you.
Yeah, that's probably for the best for everybody involved.
You killed Drewski's career.
Dude, did you?
For the team, for the coach, for the fans, for the players, for the local economy, everything. Yeah.
Did you, dude? Real quick before we go to break, did you see Deion Sanders on the set of the Super Bowl this past weekend, like talking about almost spilling some information? It seemed like about what happened with Shador and the coaching staff or whatever last year, where they were like, "Would you ever coach, the Browns or in the NFL?" And he's like, "After what happened with my son last year, like no way." Like, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, he almost created a story.
Yeah,
he's good at doing that. He's very good at. Yeah, Deion has been very good at doing that since the mid '80s. So that's not going to change. But This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We got Eli Moon, AA Anthony Alford. We got one more segment left. We'll take a quick break. We'll go through some news and notes. A lot of Olympic stuff. I know we really haven't hit that much in the last couple of weeks, despite the fact that the Milano Cortina Olympic Games started on I think it was like Wednesday, but the opening ceremonies were on Friday. We'll get into a little bit of the big headlines on that. We got a few other things to talk about. We'll go over what the hell we've learned over the last 7 days, and then we will get you going on your merry way to start your week. Just like AA and Eli Moon, pretty groggy from the night before because you stayed up until 2:30 in the morning. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. Again, I am Rob Rozycki. We have Eli Moon, we have AA Anthony Alford, and we have you, the listener. Thank you guys for sticking with us, and we'll be right back.
I'm not letting this slip through my fingers. I'm going to do it. End of story. So I'm not letting myself go down that path. I'm not crying. My head is high. I'm standing tall. And I'm going to do my best. And whatever the result is, that's what it is. But you can never say I didn't try.
That was the former Mrs. Tiger Woods, Lindsey Vonn, talking about her comeback attempt that we'll get into in a minute or two. I don't think when exactly is planned. At age 41, she was attempting to come back to Olympic downhill in an event that she was pretty good at for a few Olympics. Sadly, she, about 15 seconds into it, suffered. I threw out a big part there, actually. She sustained a blown ACL about a week before the game started. And then on the same leg, about 15 seconds into her first run, it crashed and burned, really, had to be airlifted out. We learned that she sustained a broken leg on the same leg that the ACL is bad on. And needless to say, her Olympics is over. Her career is probably over now at 41. I don't see her coming back and trying to race at 45. But yes, that'll start off our news and notes here on the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We do have Eli Moon, Anthony Alford. I am Rob Rozycki. Let's get into a little bit of Olympic talk here. We have the brand spanking new Olympic Games starting off in Milano, Cortina, Italy. They're about 3 days old, and we already have some headlines.
Yeah, and credit to NBC Sports with the Vonn discussion there before the crash, today, and prayers out to Lindsey Vonn and just sending good vibes her way. We talked about it, double even on primetime, last week when the news came out she was going to compete in the Olympics still, just despite the torn ACL, her being 41 years old. And, to Rob, alluding to, this is probably her last Olympics, even before, breaking the leg, the ACL, all the injuries. And it just sucks. It sucks to see, an athlete go down like this. I was talking to one of my buddies, and they said, it's like, you don't see many stories where the athlete goes out on top, whether that means winning a championship or just getting to end on their own terms. And you see that a lot with, combat sports, especially, I feel like. With MMA, the champion loses, and that might be the last fight. And Lindsey Vonn's been a champion, been at the top of the sport, and it just sucks to see her go out like this. She, the ultimate idea is she wins gold, and we're talking about how Lindsey Vonn won gold on a torn ACL, but obviously not to be. And sending good vibes to her and blessings her way. It just sucks to see, but an Olympic legend nonetheless, and that won't be taken away. Despite what happened during this stretch here, I think if anything, this strengthens the legend of Lindsey Vonn.
It does. I'll give you that. It definitely does. I mean, nobody's looking at Lindsey Vonn and saying, "Boy, she doesn't have what it takes." Nobody's doing that. Unfortunately, there will be some uncomfortable conversations among Team USA in terms of how they handled things. But I was watching a few other skiing competitions, and there was a couple of athletes that I heard somebody, they were like, they had a torn ACL back in October and they're out here competing and stuff.
You had a lot of hockey.
I don't, I did not even know that with hockey, but with skiing, man, they just had a torn ACL about a month or two ago and they're out there competing. We here in the States, we're so used to football where the moment you get a torn ACL, that's a year. And it is. That's cool stuff. At least you just hope that health-wise she'll be good physically, but you do get concerned about up here as well, because obviously with the Olympics, this is one shot every 4 years, and the fact is she's 41. It's tough. It is tough because that honestly, guys, because that happened at 5 something in the morning live.
Right.
That bummed me out a little bit. that didn't put me in a good place because I was actually looking forward to, hey, let's see what happens after the Super Bowl, and to get that news this morning, boy, brutal.
Yeah.
Well, and just to put in perspective here, Matthew Tkachuk was the captain of the Panthers last year, and they won the Stanley Cup. That's when they divulged he pulled his abductor at the All-Star break, and he was playing on it the entire season and through the playoffs. So, this happens in hockey. You'll find out that some dude, typically after every Stanley Cup final, was doing the last 3 weeks on a broken leg.
Yeah.
And you put that injury history up there for her, AA. I did not realize the laundry. That is a long. When you talk about leg injuries, I mean, we're looking at a sprained ACL, right thumb, forearm, pinky, ACL and MCL in 13. ACL in 13 again, MCL in 13 again, ankle in 15, left knee in 16, broken leg in 16. So this isn't her first broken leg. Blew up her knee in 18 again, and then 19 impact injury to a nerve. So that's Christian McCaffrey's injury list. And for a skier who I would think the knee, ankle, and whole leg assembly would be pretty important on a downhill run. That is impressive, and I this doesn't tarnish her legacy at all. I mean, it's an unfortunate end to the whole, to her story, because I think fans and even folks, especially at NBC and that kind of stuff, they were pretty much looking forward to this story kind of materializing and happening, but. Yeah, it's just not in the cards for Lindsey Vonn. I do want to shout out, though, Breezy Johnson. She was the American skier who did win that event, and I do feel bad for her a little bit. She won. I think that was the first medal we got for the States in this Olympics, and that was overshadowed big time by this gnarly injury that Vonn did sustain. But I mean, other than Lindsey Vonn's story, we've had a lot of good stories from this Olympics coming out. The figure skating team, they won gold in the team competition. They're rolling along pretty good. I know we got the quad god. I think he's being talked about a lot now. Got to love that some of these guys, really aren't even in the national conscious for all but 2 weeks every 4 years. But yeah, we're rolling along pretty good with the Olympics.
Yeah, and I think it's just so cool to hear what it means to I don't know. I don't mean to sound make myself sound like the 28-year-old, but it's cool to hear there is a distinction, I feel or a distinct difference between me being 28, and I like the Olympics. I think the Olympics are cool. I think it's awesome seeing all the countries come together and compete, and there's certain events that I think are really, really fun to watch. But my mom
curling on right now. It's a barn burner right now between Sweden and USA. It's a replay, but
don't get AA started on curling. He had me and Chad trying to figure out all the ins and outs of curling. But
Chad's on a homework assignment right now because he needs to know the rules and regulations of curling.
Yeah, Chad, I don't know if you're out there listening right now, man, but hopefully you're doing your homework.
We had a graphic saved on the curling. I think it's a full
there it is. There it is. Yeah, what about the hog line? What do you know about the hog line?
The hog line.
Yeah.
But, dude, we could so do this. If we found a curling club here and we were any good at, this is something we could do and be pretty good at it and possibly go to the Olympics. One of these American curlers looks like a Barstool employee. We can make this happen.
Well, and you know what? Yeah. Now I'm thinking we could be an Olympic team.
Sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, and if you're out there,
sponsor, we can already cut.
That's the story of our lives, AA. All we need is a sponsor. That's the story of our entire career.
But I'll tell you this, fellas. I texted my mom today, and she was like, I'm like, what are you up to? And she's like, I'm watching the Olympics. I just love the ice skating events. Anything with the ice skating, anything involved with that, is my favorite. And I just think it was cool to hear. I think there is a difference in terms of what the Olympics meant, even 20, 30 years ago, to now. I think it's, not as much of a buzz. We're doing the coverage here on the Olympics. We're probably, to be real, the only network out here, in the podcasting world that's covering Olympics here in Cleveland. I'll be real. I think it's just because it's not talked about as much because I don't know why. I guess it's the interest at some point dropped off. Maybe it's because, like Rob brought up, these guys aren't in the national light till just 2 weeks. You look at, like, back in the day, Michael Phelps, Lindsey Vonn, a lot of her stretch was about, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, so you at least her prime. So you look at, like, some of this stuff, and I think it's a failure to market the Olympic athletes. We're talking about with baseball, but it's like, why aren't we marketing the people that are going out there and representing the country so we can know more about them and be invested in the games? Because I think we're doing a great job in AA. I've loved your updates so far in the Olympics here on the Inside Edge Network. But
I got a figure skating one coming tomorrow. I know what I'm talking about.
But, and Rob, I'm curious to hear what you think too. It's like, I don't know, like, why we don't market the Olympics more, but then NBC, throws out, boom, Olympic coverage. Everybody's like, around the world is Olympic coverage. But why aren't we covering this at least like a 4 to 5 month pre-show, like of, hey, here's who you need to know about. Like, Red Gerard, who's an Ohio guy. Like, why aren't we hearing about these types of, athletes?
Rob, NBC has been blasting this. Like if you look at their morning shows, you look at their programming. Even just as simple as logging on to my TV, they've had the Olympic rings on the Peacock logo. I want to say since New Year, if not even before that. So NBC's been pushing it hard. The issue is that there is no comparable curling league for us to care about the other 3 years and 50 weeks. There is no comparable. I got luge on right now. I just flipped it over. Nobody, watches competitive luge for the other, 3.5, years of this cycle. And you could say the same thing about the summer games too. Track and field is not a money-making event. I know some guys, they're trying to track league up now. I think Shaun White is even trying like a winter sports kind of league for the downhill and snowboarders and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But the issue is that they're just sports that aren't really in the national consciousness for the 12 months a year. The other issue too, and we can talk about this just from planning the show today. We got the Olympics going on right now. We got Lindsey Vonn. We got the figure skating team. We got, all this other stuff, opening ceremonies. We can even get into the protests if you want, whatever. But in this week, the Super Bowl was done 3 hours ago. The NBA trade deadline was Tuesday. Baseball isn't getting a lot of headlines right now, even with Class A and spring training. But there's a lot of other stuff in the sports zeitgeist that we're worrying about right now. And I was planning on watching the Olympics, and I even made a conscious decision. I'm like, I don't got time to worry about this stuff right now until Thursday because of all this other crazy stuff happening. And that's just the modern sports world now. And I think that is the charm of the Olympics. I think, you do have 95% of these athletes. Okay, Lindsey Vonn does not live a normal life. The guys on the NHLers on the hockey teams, they are pro athletes. They don't live our lives. But I think there's something kind of charming in, a dude who works at Home Depot who's just a really good long distance runner. Or, a lawyer in town who, likes to go and curl, and is pretty good at it. And it's kind of good that the normal folks of us seem to be kind of represented in this, because all these athletes, this has to be a ride for them, because they're the talk of the town for 2 weeks, the talk of the planet for 2 weeks. And then that Monday after the closing ceremonies, all right, got to go to work.
Right.
Got to go on your normal thing. So
I hear what you're saying, Double. I just real quick, I do want to add, I think, but that's why I say the stories, Rob. I feel like top of the moon, but the stories are what's important, and we should know about the Home Depot, the guy that works at Home Depot, and whatever the story is, so that the casual viewer, we're sports fans, so we're gonna tune in because it's extra sports, and we don't get it except for every 40 years, for whatever. Or every 2 years, excuse me. But you get the point. At the end of the day, it's we should know about these stories so that
And
the casual viewer should tune in. Right, but before ahead of time. Like, it's just like we just talk about the Super Bowl and AA, I'll kick it over to you. It's like we hear about the Super Bowl and we hear about 25 to 35 pregame stories that we already know going into the game. We're like, man, that's why I'm invested. I shouldn't be invested about the dude who took gold after the fact. I should want to be invested in his story. It's like wrestling. I feel like Cody Rhodes in the story, but it's, that's what it comes down to,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And, NBC has done a much better job over the years. Like, there's different audiences. So, like, if you're watching figure skating during prime time, which more women watch than men, I mean, they're locked in.
You've had so much figure skating on in this house today.
Yeah, they're locked in. I don't know. I hear, Johnny Weir and Tara Lipinski, like, they're talking about, oh, this is the right move and stuff. Oh, they're going to get deducted the point. I'm like, I have no clue.
What I love about all Olympic sports, and Nikki was doing it today, and so was I to a point with figure skating. We watch like 3 runs, like 3 skaters do their thing, and then on that 4th, we're a freaking judge. Yeah, okay, that triple axel was about a quarter rotation off. Okay, yeah, they kind of 2-footed the landing. Yeah, and like 3 minutes in, you're like, yes, I can do this completely.
I think it was luge. What do you even do?
You luge.
Like,
you luge.
I heard somewhere that the Winter Olympics, all the sports can be summed up in 3 categories: strapping blades to your feet and going around a circle, tumbling down a mountain as fast as possible, and curling.
Yeah. Let me address. You're right. Real quick to Eli's point, though, I think there's another aspect, because I think, Rob, you hit on pretty much most of the points, but there's another aspect. People are going to watch the Olympics. This is not a thing to say all the Olympics are failing. I have the Olympics on right. Basically, my television is on Channel 3 until the end of February. So, cheap plug. Camino's going to be on my TV a lot this month. They're not the only international sports show in town this year. You got the World Cup coming up in June.
What about the World Baseball Classic?
You got the World Baseball Classic coming up in a few weeks. So,
yeah, for everybody with Puerto Rico.
I guess the good news is that you're seeing more international sports being promoted. But yeah, that comes perhaps at the expense of the uniqueness of the Olympics. The only point I'll add to this as well, I hate to say this, I barely watched the pregame coverage of the Super Bowl this year.
No.
Just because of all the other crap that was going on with a ton of other stuff. And we didn't have a box office Super Bowl matchup. So just sometimes you just don't get excited about stuff even when things are presented to you leading in. NBC shows figure skating all year long. And
yeah, it's like a Saturday afternoon special. Yeah.
How often have I ever sat down on a Saturday afternoon to watch Olympic figure skating qualifying?
The only time,
laundry mat.
I'll guarantee you, the only time you ever, I've done it, and here's how. I was watching a college football game that finished up while I was sleeping, and then the figure skating was on next.
We've all been there.
That's
we've all been there.
Yeah, you just, this is what NBC did. Notre Dame's on. Notre Dame beats Florida Atlantic or somebody, and then you fall asleep. You wake up. It's 9-something, and there's figure skating.
Yeah, it's
like Big 3 basketball.
Yeah,
it's like Monday Night Raw. Like the only time Crisley Knows Best got any viewership in the Moon household was on Monday Night Raw, and then I had passed out, and I woke up, and Todd Crisley was.
Do you know how many times I accidentally watched Crisley Knows Best? And then it's like semi-entertaining. I'm like, oh man, I'm kind of, this show's kind of funny. I'll never seek the episode out ever.
No.
But I think we're going to have a whole lot to watch, and I think this is actually, I think what's really helping the Olympics out now, and NBC figured it out, I think, last Olympics. This is the perfect streaming event, because there is no possible way on one channel that you can get everything. There's just no way. There's just too many events. There's too many balls in the air. It's just not going to happen. But when I throw up Peacock here, and I got an Olympic command center basically here. I got 2 big screens, and I can pull up my app on either one of them, and I can pick all the live stuff that's happening right now. I can pick any replay I want to watch. Like this, I'm watching luge from earlier today. I already know who won. We were watching downhill before that. So like that really helps everything out by putting it on your own schedule.
Yeah.
And I think, and you can tailor it to you. If you do like luge, you can watch luge all day. If you like curling, you can watch curling for the next 4 friggin' weeks. There will be plenty of it. So yeah, like I think that's going to really help things out. And the worldwide nature of it too. I know we got the World Cup going on. We got, the World Baseball Classic. It is not a crazy thing for an international event to happen. When I was a kid, you had the Olympics, which when I was a kid up until 92, the winter and summer were the same year. So like we would have, we'd be doing the winter right now, but then, summer would kick up and there would be the LA games. So that made it even more of a big deal because you didn't have any Olympic anything for 3 years, and then pop, this comes up.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe more international events and the Olympics now being on that staggered cycle, it's not as big of a deal when I was a kid, but it's still a big deal. And yeah, I mean, if you do just like watching sports that you don't normally get to watch, that's for me, that's what I like. And we're not dealing. We just got done talking about the NBA last segment, and not saying that the Cavaliers are victims of this, but we deal with that league a lot when players get bitchy about having to play 2 straight days. I just watched a world-class athlete with a blown ACL risk her physical well-being to try to go one more time down that downhill and win that thing. And it's not for $100 million. It's not for, lifetime of lap and luxury here. We're talking about normal people doing this. And when we hear about the common bullshit with other athletes and other sports, the big money stuff, it's refreshing to see these guys guaranteed they are all there because they want to be there, they want to win, and they want to represent their country. No matter what country it is, it's fun to see.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, too, you see any of that snowboarding stuff? Like, they just go up in the air and they, like, twist, like, 38 times and they, like, land on their feet. It's just...
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing, too, is it's like over these last few cycles, the X Games has influenced the Winter Olympics.
Snowboarding, all that half-pipe stuff was not there when I was a kid.
I'm listening. My mom obviously is not here, but I hear her voice as some athlete just took off his shirt and they're outside. I'm like, oh my goodness, oh man. What if I told you though, real quick? I know we're limited on time, but if there were strictly an American Games,
yeah,
and like which sports? Let's just say you put all 50 states in Puerto Rico, whatever, in the American Games. And you have football and basketball and swimming and whatever. You could split it up summer or winter. But let's say that this particular sport was included.
Oh shoot, Double A. The video was so shocking it muted both of you and Rob. You both are muted. So
Did it crash? Let me try one more time.
Look at this. That is textbook.
Ow.
You know, they started doing away.
I'm never doing it, but I watched that.
When I was playing football.
What's up?
I was saying they were doing away with the Oklahoma drill when I was playing. 20 years ago. Like, that's nuts. Oh my goodness, that's terrible.
I think that sport had to have been invented by an orthopedic surgeon looking for business, because that's how you break every bone. Like, every one of those guys walk in with about 208 bones, they walk out with 215. Dude.
God, you hear it. You see it and you hear it. Oh.
Yeah, it's just crunch. I mean, like, good. Oh, yeah, no. Dude, I'll tell you this. I kicked.
So what is that even called, by the way?
There isn't a name from when I pulled up the source.
Yeah.
It was from the credit to Happy Punch. That's the Twitter account I pulled this from. It says here it's a new combat sport league where heavyweights just sprint full speed into each other.
Look, all I'm gonna say is I kicked my toe on the dining room table earlier. I thought that was excruciating pain, and then I watched this video. Yeah, no, I'm all right. I'm all right, Double A. Maybe I am not one to be in the American games if there would be one. If this is part of it.
CTE games.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, dude, it's not good. It's not good. I mean, that's like bad, bro. And I just don't understand. We're making everything like a sport. I don't know. No thought.
I got Dana White running power slap. Oh, yeah.
Okay, first off, the power slap, I think there's a key difference. Because I think we've all seen some of that shit on a reel or whatever. If you are a power slap contestant, you are spending half of your time just sitting there defenseless, waiting to get pummeled. At least with this one, and I'm now finding this out. This is called Run Nation.
Yep.
The Run Nation Championship is a new combat collision, violent, whatever you want to call it, sport that has originated in Australia. So that makes sense. Either Australia or Russia. That's it. So your American game, Dub, by the way, Double A, is from the land down under.
Yeah.
But at least with this one, you have both guys can defend themselves. Like, they're trying to mount an offense here. It's not just like, hi, gone. Like, but still, nonetheless, that is concussions. That's shoulder problems, back problems, pelvis problems, BP problems, every problem.
Look, Rob, Double A, I know we're not supposed to talk about business plans on the air, but after consideration and looking at this video and thinking about all of this, with the Olympics and the spirit of competition, Double A, I think it's time we nominate our own Rob Rozycki as our Run Nation nominee in the next competition.
Oh, let's face it, I'd truck stick both your asses. Let's not even go on that.
Not us.
You said you're 150 pounds.
Not us.
150 pounds in 7th grade.
What's up? You don't want me involved in that.
No, actually, Double A, I think you'll do well, because in that kind of situation, remember what they would say in football to a lineman? Low man wins.
Low man
wins.
Look,
you might have a
low center of gravity.
That's what I'm saying here,
dude. Oh man.
Yeah,
I'm saying here that the fact that you're about 3 inches away from being legally disabled, I think will help you out there.
Do you guys remember the original XFL? How you won the coin toss?
Yeah, the scrum in the middle of the deal. That I think the first time they did it, they hurt somebody.
Yep, first game they did this. Injury. Dude was out. Dude tore his ACL, and unlike Lindsey Vonn, was out for the rest of the season.
Oh my God!
From the XFL scramble to win possession of the football.
Well, let's face it, they really weren't. I don't think the term player safety ever came up when they were drawing up the original XFL.
Yeah, that's fair.
McMahon.
That's fair.
It's McMahon, that's guy,
fair. Yeah,
who is known for treating all of his wrestlers so well.
Terrible. Real quick before what we learned, we did promise we do deliver on teasers. Tony Dungy and Rodney Harrison. I do want to get that clip in real quick. This is courtesy of NBC.
Do you vote for Bill Belichick?
Jack, I'm not going to disclose that. When you come on the committee, you take an oath that you're not going to discuss any of the debates, anything that happened there. I'm not going to put any of my teammates under the bus, who they voted for, who I voted for. Here's the situation, okay? In this category, coaches, contributors, senior players, there are 5 finalists. You could vote. We voted as a team. Our group voted. Roger Craig got the most votes. I stand behind that as a teammate. That's how we voted. But here's the problem. We voted for 3 people. There are 2 other slots available. Bill Belichick definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Robert Kraft deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. L.C. Greenwood deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Ken Anderson deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And we've got 2 slots. But because of a change that the Hall of Fame made 2 years ago, none of those guys got in. And it wasn't because of us. People think that we voted against Bill Belichick. We did not. As a matter of fact, if the vote, same exact vote, had taken place, same totals 2 years ago, Bill Belichick would be in, so would another deserving Hall of Famer, and that's why I'm upset. That is not right.
What I would say, Coach, is any list that doesn't include Bill Belichick at the top is absolutely wrong. And a lot of those players that we mentioned, they're great players. I played with Drew Brees. I played with Adam Vinatieri. But there's nobody more deserving to be in that Hall of Fame than Coach Belichick. I've seen his greatness. I've seen him design defenses to stop your offense. And you just look at the players that he's impacted. He's been unbelievable. And when I look out throughout the Hall of Fame, and even a guy like Tom Brady wouldn't be Tom Brady without Bill Belichick. And that's the disappointing part of it, Coach, and you guys got it wrong.
Well, I feel your passion, and I'm with you. And this is about more than Bill Belichick, because in the last 2 years, since the rule has been changed, we've had 7 open slots, 7 people who deserve to be in that didn't get in because of this rule change. It has to change. We've been vocal about it as voters, and hopefully it will change.
My favorite part of that, and I know this look, I've had this look, I've seen AA have this look, Eli's had this look. It's when the other guy's talking and says something that's so damn infuriating. You're just sitting there waiting for silence so you can make some noise. And that's what Rodney Harrison over in the corner was serious. Tony, you just pissed me off. I'll let you finish. I won't interrupt you. But won't kick your ass.
Dude, Tony Dungy was so calm during that whole thing. He was like, I hear you right there with you.
Well, and we at the top, we had a little bit at the top. We're talking the NFL. We could spend a minute or two very quick. But like if you don't want to put him in, fine. Okay, again, we kind of talked, or at least my opinion is it makes the Hall of Fame look a lot worse than Belichick. If you don't want to put him in, though, fine. That's your prerogative. You're a Hall of Fame voter. I am not. You have done something that has warranted that. I have not. Do what you do. However, own up to it. Don't just play coy. Don't say I am not going to because Tony, and again, I know I'm not a voter, but I've heard many other voters say you are allowed to divulge how you voted. You cannot talk about the debate. You cannot talk about how somebody else voted. You can say what you did, but you can't say what the committee did. And I get that. And you're using it as a cop-out. You're using it as a way to not answer the question. And you know what? If you're going to have the balls to not put 6 Super Bowls, 11 conference championships, the second most wins all time, the most playoff wins all time, if you don't have the balls to put that in there, at least say it. At least say it.
And Rodney Harrison
is playing coy crap. You know what? At this rate, Bill Polian out there, I can't recall what I did 2 weeks ago in the vote. Dude, with that memory, you should run for president. You'd fit in just fine with the last 2 guys.
And Rodney Harrison straight looked at, you notice to that look, he twitched. The moment that at the very beginning of that clip, when Tony Dungy said, I can't reveal what we did, he started twitching. Yeah. He started, that's the I have to remain professional, but I really want to knock this dude out right now.
Let's not kid ourselves too. Rodney Harrison isn't pure of mind and heart here. He is capping for his coach. He is capping for the Patriot way. He is defending and trying to get as many of his guys into the Hall of Fame, because the more of his guys go into the Hall of Fame, and you can ask a bunch of the 70s Steelers this, if you get 6 or 7 guys from a team in the Hall of Fame, there's about 5 or 6 other ones that go automatically, and Rodney would be one of those guys. So he has his own motivations here. I do get that, but yeah, I'm going to side with him on this whole thing. If you're going to have the balls to not put him in, have the balls to say you didn't put him in.
And the fact that he said too, you got it wrong. You guys got it wrong. And like, it wasn't even like, because usually those segments too, the analysts will kind of look at one analyst and then look back at college.
Not call out a coworker.
Right. That was, you might have forgot that Zach Collinsworth was even in that segment. That was,
yeah. Dude, that was rough, man. I got uncomfortable watching that for Tony Dungy. He was like, "Help! I'm in danger." Johnny Harrison started going off on him. I mean, my goodness gracious, what a!
But the thing is, with Dungy, and I know he's like Bill Polian doing the same. They're playing the sweet old man, the elder statesman thing. It's, bro, like I'm just tired of, no, if you're going to do this, at least be a man about it and say you didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. And I'm tired of this whole, and everybody's doing it right now. Nobody wants to call anybody out. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Guess what? That is the one drawback of being an NFL Hall of Fame voter right now, is that occasionally someone's going to question your decision. Other than that, though, you're treated like a friggin' god. So you know what? Own up to the decision and just go with it. Or, you know what, guys? Make the vote public. Make it public. Make it NFL C-SPAN for 2 days and just put a camera in the damn conference room here. You know what? Why not?
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, we turn the draft into 3-day TV. We could turn this into a 2-day event.
They're showing. Oh no, they're showing the late night replay. I just saw Lindsey Vonn get injured again.
All right, chill. All right. Look, all I'll say is this. You know, when you look at Bill Belichick, you gotta think about this. He's got to be grateful though, because all this buzz and nobody's talking about the season he had at UNC last year. So look, at the end of the day,
did you see? Bill Belichick was at a UNC game this weekend with Jordan, and Jordan had a T-shirt with the logo of the massage parlor that Bob Kraft went to in Florida that fateful day.
Yep, way to make an impression at a Duke, North Carolina game.
Dude.
And yeah, nobody's talking about this though. Nobody's talking about the lack of professionalism from the most professional guy in the history of professional football. But yeah, it is what it is, and we'll see if he goes in next year. And the other thing I'm going to be kind of curious to see too, if Spygate and the Deflategate had anything to do with this, is Tom Brady now a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yeah, that's what we've been
with him.
That's what we've been talking about for weeks, you know. And I even posed a question that, you know what, a week or two ago when all this stuff came out, it's like, yeah, I mean, does Tom Brady get in? Maybe this is the plan all along. The NFL is going to get all three of them in at the same time. Kraft, Brady, and Belichick next year. There's three of your Hall of Famers.
Do you know who's first year eligible next year? Gronk.
So it's going to be a Patriots Hall of Fame class next year, bro.
They'll get in. You know how they'll overcorrect and they'll get in.
Yeah, we're going to get Rodney Harrison's getting in next year. We're getting all the Patriots.
After the way he dealt with Tony Dungy, I would vote for him.
Now, you know what? If I'm going to be bitchy and I'm the NFL, do you know what I do next year if I'm in the Hall of Fame?
What's that?
Mike Tomlin in.
Say that again, Rob.
Put Mike Tomlin in. The dude who didn't have to wait a year to put, or put Marty Schottenheimer in, or put Mike Shanahan in. Like, there's a lot of coaches out there that and that's the problem with the selection process in general, is that there's such a backlog in some spots, like receiver too. Like Torrey Holt isn't in the Hall of Fame. How in the hell is that possible?
Yeah.
To be fair to Tony Dungy, he did talk about that in that clip too. Is that like there's backlog?
Yeah, but he's just blaming the process. He's just blaming everything so he doesn't have to take responsibility.
I'm just acknowledging what he said. The Kansas City writer who actually publicly said he did not vote for Belichick did mention that. It was just like because of the backlog. So that's that. Yeah. I'm with Eli. I've had enough of the Belichick conversation. It's just that I just wanted to share Rodney Harrison's reaction because I thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah.
To kind of see that.
You want to hear something even crazier than that, Double A?
No.
We set our goal. Well, I'm going to tell you anyways. We set our goal at 1 a.m. to say goodbye to the folks for the week, and here we are at 2:16.
Yeah, we blew that the hell and back.
And the 2:16.
I'm telling you, it's this third second. It's this third segment. You get that extra win. I don't. We're going to be tested though because football's done. So starting next week, we got to do some work.
Yeah, we're actually going to do something. Yeah, that's going to be.
No.
Yeah. All right. So let's as we sit here at 2:15, gentlemen, let's figure out what we've learned and try to do something we haven't done in a while and make it quick.
Yeah, I'll go first. I got a pretty simple one. I learned this weekend that I can make a mean chili. And if you both know, I'm not a chef, a cook, even a prep guy for the most part, I'd say. Look, if it doesn't have instructions on the back and tell me how long to put it in the microwave, I mean, I'm probably screwed. But like today, so Papa Moon had prepared the chili meat, like the ground beef, and like we do like steak in our chili. We've been trying a little bit different stuff. And he's like, look, I need you to prepare it. I need you to get all the like stuff, like get it together, stir it up, and put it on high. Felt like this was a very strong ask and a task here on Super Bowl Sunday. I'm responsible for Super Bowl Sunday dinner. But I did this thing. I went out there. I really stuck to the game plan. I didn't let the big game, lights get to me, and I took care of this chili. Papa Moon tried it for dinner at the Super Bowl start, and he said it was great. So I learned this weekend that if you put the right ingredients in front of me, and I call my sister as like a lifeline, like, hey, what else should I put in this so it's got a little bit extra kick? Then I'm good. So if you guys want to come over and try some chili, it's on me next time.
I'll give you another quick cooking lesson, Eli. Yes. 3/4 of it is following directions. It's really what you just look at the list, you look at the recipe, you get a YouTube video, however your media, whatever media you want to consume, and you just follow the directions.
Yeah.
Once you learn about 6 or 7 basic things, that's really all you got to do is follow directions.
That's all I'm saying. Watch out, world. I mean, today may have just been the start of a new era. Chef Eli, I'm just saying. Like I might be cooking.
Triple H.
That's what I learned this weekend, fellas. What about you guys? What do we learn?
Well, I'll go here. By the way, our Super Bowl meal over here was 3rd pound Angus cheeseburgers with brioche buns. We did some hand-cut fries. And, got that rocking and rolling over here because I got game.
Okay, go ahead, big dog. Damn. What I learned this weekend is I still can't
actually,
Rozycki.
and real quick, I think we're going to start a new tradition over here. I do like the idea of burger night for Super Bowls. I think that's a pretty good deal. And especially when I get the grill coming in over the summertime, that's going to be a game changer.
Wait, Eli, did you have the chili tonight?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's burgers or chili on Super Bowl night.
And
that's not an easy call.
And we had Nathan's, the Nathan's brand hot dogs as well. So we went a little crazy. Papa Moon likes a good chili dog, so it's like, shit. But I mean, Rozycki.
I had instead.
What'd you have, Double? Yeah, we didn't even ask you.
Chicken fries from Burger King.
From Burger King? Yeah, all right.
I was ready to cook. And I realized after I came back from doing laundry and all my errands from today, I realized I have no vegetable oil, I have no wine, I have no butter. I have nothing to actually cook the chicken with. I mean, I know I could have threw it in the oven, but I have an air fryer. I couldn't use it. And so at halftime, I had to go to Burger King and order some food. because I refuse to DoorDash on Super Bowl night because I don't want to pay $20 for a $5 meal.
That's why we just cooked inside too. I was just like, let's just roll it here. Like I can, and I've cooked about 7,000 burgers in my life, so we were pretty good with that. We'll go real quick too. What's up?
I was thinking, Mike, would you do a chili burger?
Yeah, I can do a chili burger. I've done a chili burger. Yeah, we do.
Chili burger.
Yeah, I think chili burger.
And I think next year we might do pretzel buns. I think that might be that was also on the list today.
Damn, we need to do like a potluck.
Nice French onion buns, though. I like Walmart for a while had like a really good brand of French onion bun, like hamburger buns, and they haven't been around for like 2 years, and I've been just scouring the earth. But
damn, we need to do a main event / Inside Edge Network potluck for Super Bowl next year. Damn, I'm hungry. It's almost 3 a.m. here on the East Coast. 888.
We'll just go through here, and I got a quick one. This isn't going to be heavy like the last few weeks or anything like that. But first off, congratulations to the fine folks in Columbus, Ohio. You will be hosting a relatively large soccer match or two in 2028. And this goes into what I've learned. I learned this week that Columbus, Ohio is in fact in the greater Los Angeles metropolitan area.
Hey, congrats!
Because Columbus, the soccer matches I'm talking about, they will be in conjunction with the 2028 LA Games. Columbus, I think, along with New York City, I think St. Louis is in there, and a couple of cities in Southern California, they're all going to be hosting games. Now, I don't mind the idea of California, Portland, maybe Seattle, Western Seaboard hosting this stuff. But by my count, and I just did a nice little Google search of this whole situation here, by my count, if you drive from that to that, you're looking at roughly a 2,000-mile drive. Again, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I understand. Do you guys know where the Paris Games, the Olympics 2 years ago, where the surfing was held?
No. I knew the answer. I forgot.
Tahiti, 3,000 miles away, or technically French Polynesia. So you had the out that it was in the same country, but it was still 3,000 miles. We need to stop this. And I understand. And again, another thing, great job, LA Games, even though the head of the LA Games right now is in some shit. Good job, LA, in figuring out ways to not have to build anything new. But still, and again, great for the people of Columbus. I'm glad you're getting this opportunity. But I'm reasonably sure we can find a stadium that's capable of housing a soccer match that's a little closer than Columbus in New York. From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, there's a city that's a little northeast of Los Angeles, Las Vegas. They're pretty good at they hold a few events, right? Like they can hold a WrestleMania there, or a Super Bowl, or an All-Star game. Maybe all of those at the same time. Why not put this thing in the Raiders Stadium? Why not put this thing in Seattle or Oregon or something along that line? But again, we're talking a 2,000-mile deal, folks. Come on. Again, great for Columbus, but lack of common sense.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's great. Boy, later this year, wait till we start diving into when we do get into the World Cup. Look at the schedule, the Team USA schedule. And you would think the stuff here in the States, prime time, no. No. A lot of stuff there. All right, I go last. This is not a life super serious thing, but this is pretty serious if you work in the NFL, because I think right now this is the toughest time to be a football head coach. And I would actually lump in college and pros, but for the sake of time, I just want to talk pros here for a second. Coming into this season, Seattle had a 60-1 odds to win the Super Bowl. New England, it was 80-1 to win the Super Bowl. And those two teams, obviously, they met, and the Seahawks are champions. But during this season, we've seen 10 head coaching changes, including, obviously, teams who have struggled, but also head coaching changes with a team who won their division, teams who went to the playoffs and didn't get their desired result, and they switched out their head coaches. I also add on to the fact that there is a very attractive 2027 draft class coming up. Not to look ahead, but a lot of available franchise-changing quarterbacks available in 2027. If there's anything to learn after the conclusion of this season, is that everyone, unless you're the defending Super Bowl champs, everyone in some way, shape, or form is on the hot seat in some way, shape, or form. And the such thing as long-term planning doesn't effing exist in the NFL. If you can have your two teams, 60-1 odds, 80-1 odds, to win the Super Bowl, appear in the Super Bowl, the expectation for the other 30 NFL teams is that somehow, some way, you get there. And if they don't see the necessary progress, they don't see that your team is moving and jumping high in the right direction, your tenure is done. I can't think of a worse time in terms of pressure to be an NFL head coach than right now. Either you win the Super Bowl or the clock is ticking on your future. End of story, case closed. And I don't know. It's the art of the business. If the football team feels, if your star players feel that you got to move in a different direction, that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's it. So what I learned after this season, after the craziness of the head coaching switchovers, long-term planning is dead, and everyone is on the hot seat. You don't win the Super Bowl, your job is up for grabs. I don't care what your resume is.
All right. I mean, that was a lot to unpack.
There is no patience left. There is no patience costs money, and they don't want to spend any money. And they don't want to and what New England isn't going to help things out with is the fact that they were, 4 or 5 wins last year, and now they're the AFC champions. You're going to have 10 owners in the league that are going to look at their coaches and be like, why can't you do that?
Yeah. It's a very high pressure situation right now. It's getting interesting. That's interesting because I think we could even see more head coaching changes than we saw this year, based off exactly what you just said. Because teams are realizing you're kind of in a 3 to 5 year window. A lot of times we're watching the Detroit Lions with Dan Campbell. Don't be surprised if he's one of the most talked about names if the Lions aren't off to a desirable start again next year. I mean, this is what the NFL's become.
I look at the AFC North alone, right? So let's say the AFC North, pick a team, doesn't matter. First place team wins 10 games, right?
The Browns, yep, absolutely.
Okay, so the other 3 teams, okay, if the Browns win the AFC North, what do the Steelers think of Mike McCarthy?
Ooh, yeah.
What do the Bengals think of Zach Taylor?
Oh, Zach Taylor would be gone. Zach Taylor would be gone for sure. I mean, I'm surprised he wasn't going this round of cycle.
And that's just with 10 wins. So that's happening all across the NFL. And Eli, you're right, too, about the NFC North. Because now the NFC North is like the Wild Wild West right now. All 4 of those teams, there are high expectations. LaFleur signed an extension, but who cares? You can eat that money. Teams are eating the money. And Mike Tomlin is sitting out this season. I think he's still under Steelers ownership, correct?
Yeah, he's still well. Let's not talk about owning but yeah, his rights are still over with the Steelers.
His rights. Yeah. Your season doesn't go too well next year. Boy, there's an experienced head coach who is available.
And we'll see it too next year with this with whatever coaching cycle is going to pop up next year. That one of these or more of these teams out of the 10 that we're looking for a coach just now, they're going to be looking for a coach again. There's going to be somebody that's going to be doing this all over again in just a couple of short months. So yeah, and that is the lack of patience. I mean, that's around everywhere. I mean, you look at the NBA. The Cavaliers don't have the chance to spend 5-7 years getting this shit right. It's you better come up with it in a year or two, or we're going to trade Darius Garland. That's what it is now. It's the money involved. Like every season costs you money. Every season you're paying out hundreds of millions of dollars just to keep the thing running. And right now, it seems to me that the other thing too, back in the day, okay, there might have been several different ways to solve a team not winning. There might have been 1,000 different ways things that you could have done as a coach, as a GM, as an owner to do. Now, the problem-solving strategy is the team ain't playing well, somebody has to get fired. There is no adjustments you make. There is no, roster tweaks, nothing you can. No, it's you didn't do right. You didn't do well. You're fired. And there's not a whole lot of leeway anymore. And yeah, I mean, you look at Mike McDonald, 2 years, if the Seahawks go 5 wins the next 2 years, he's on the hot seat. I firmly believe if you want to talk about that, in 12 months, we're going to be talking about probably the Eagles looking for a new coach. Like, I'm a little surprised
that conversation now.
Yeah. And because the Super Bowl win only got Nick Sirianni 10 months. That's what it got.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this modern NFL, it's modern sports.
That is true. And I know we're out of time, but there's more to this too, because we saw it even with college. Penn State was one game away from the national championship last year. They had a little bit of a rough stretch this year, and James Franklin was out of a job just like that. So, yeah, I think that's something once we get, more in the evergreen season, we kind of talk about it more. It's like, is that patience running out? It ain't fair, but is that the right approach to just quickly move on? And I do see, if Atlanta struggles, Kevin Stefanski can have a one-and-done season.
But and that's the other thing too is what this whole show, and this kind of proves a bigger point too. We saw it with the Wildcat, we saw it with any fan. It's a copycat league. Baltimore walks away from their coach, and all of a sudden, it's John Harbaugh unemployed, and so every 5 teams that weren't thinking about doing it are sitting there going, well, if Baltimore thinks that isn't good enough, man, then Mike McDaniel isn't good enough in Miami. Then, Jonathan Gannon isn't good enough in Arizona. Like, what the hell's going on? So when one person freaks out, everybody freaks out. And right now, it's one person showing no patience, so nobody shows patience.
Definitely. But again, congrats to the Seahawks for winning the championship. They did it the right way, got the number 1 seed. They shredded their divisional opponents, and they brought it home. Mm-hmm. Just like how we're going to bring this thing home right now.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, this just caught my eye too, with the Super Bowl halftime show. By the way, if you're thinking about jumping on X for the first time, just don't. Just don't. I got, both of you are familiar with Laura Loomer, the Trump official.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Quote, not a single white person or English translation at the Super Bowl. This isn't white enough for me. Can't watch a Super Bowl halftime Super Bowl anymore because immigrants have literally ruined everything. Double A, weren't you saying that to me about the Super Bowl halftime show? Wasn't white enough?
Rozycki, send it home.
Hey man, I love the man. There was a wedding during that concert, an actual wedding during the concert.
Dude, I know that. I love the halftime concert. Anybody that was hating on it, I don't know. I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't understand how you could hate on Bad Bunny, who, by the way, is the most streamed artist 3 years out of the last 5 years. No, I'm going to go on a tangent. 3 out of the last 5 years. Won Grammy of the Year for Album of the Year for the Grammy for Album of the Year. And by the way, first Spanish-speaking album to win Album of the Year for the Grammys. And had a kick-ass halftime performance. Anybody that was like, I'm not watching that, you missed out. Like, I mean, like, you just don't like good music. I guess you don't like good vibes. And Bad Bunny literally said it, and this is what I'll end with. He said, this whole time, he wasn't telling people that you have to learn how to speak Spanish to enjoy my performance. You just needed to learn how to dance. And, like, I don't know. I just think, good on Bad Bunny. I think this was a really cool performance, especially in a time, like I said, we talk about with the world and everything. So I think that was awesome. And
my favorite was, I think it was Jake Paul was bitching about it, the not a real American kind of thing. Do you know where Jake Paul lives?
Oh, I know the answer.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Puerto Rico. So, yeah. It is what it is, but yeah,
and kudos to Bad Bunny. I have a feeling this will not be the last time we talk about Bad Bunny on the Inside Edge Network in the next couple of months.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure he will pop up. Sure. By the way, if you want to use the commissioner's verbiage, call him Bad Benny, please. He did refer to which I'll give him a little credit for, because if he's introducing himself to the commissioner, I'm sure it's not "Hi, I'm Bad Bunny." It's "Hi, I'm Benny," in the your actual government name. But yes, we'll wrap this puppy up again. Thank you to those who stuck around with us damn near till 3:00 in the morning. We will try to make this more of an earlier extravaganza now that we don't have to worry about Sunday night football. So prepare for this thing to be a little bit earlier in your Sunday or Sunday afternoon. But for everybody here at the main event, we got Eli Moon, we got AA Anthony Alford. I am Rob Rozycki, and I guess the only thing we can say right now is adios, amigos.